Home Affairs Minister Dr. Leon Schreiber says it's not his duty to produce a single report from the Electoral Reform Consultation Panel. He appeared before the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs to answer questions about two conflicting reports submitted by the panel. The panel was established to review South Africa's electoral system and make recommendations for reform. MPs raised concerns about delays, legal compliance, and the validity of the reports. The minister defended his actions after he was criticized about the conflicting reports.
Cannot say that the minister must ensure that there is one report, because it is the panel that must produce a particular report, and that is the catch-22 that we have to then navigate. So I think from my side, I have no personal objection to going back to the panel. The panel has not been dissolved, and I've done that on purpose, Chair.
South African physician Professor Jamie Volmonk says the country urgently needs to produce its own locally manufactured pharmaceuticals as the importing of medicine is getting expensive. Volmonk was the keynote speaker at a Global Health Public Institutional lecture. It was held at the Nelson Mandela University in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape. Professor Volmonk says the continent has already made strides in dealing with public health issues through the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention.
This framework, very briefly, rests on 5 key pillars. First, strong African public health institutions, calling on member states to support continental bodies like the Africa CDC and the African Medicines Agency. Second, expanding manufacturing of vaccines, diagnostics, and therapeutics through collaboration among member states and ensuring that global partners like Gavi commit to sourcing at least 30% of vaccines from Africa.
Recapping the top story, President Cyril Ramaphosa has emphasized that South African business executives have a critical role to play in driving inclusive economic growth on the continent and across the globe. Ramaphosa addressed a working dinner with South African CEOs as part of the G20 outreach program. For SAFM News, I am Anne Osa.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, cricket Proteas captain Themba Bavuma is finally getting the global recognition he deserves. And in rugby, more frustrations in the Springbok camp with inconsistent head contact rulings continuing to dominate. We'll have details just before 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning, Joburg. Already slow on that busy N1 North, linking through Diepkloof Interchange down to Uncle Charlie's. If you're coming in from Lenasia, Protea Glen from Eldo's, that runs through Diepkloof already very slow going. Traffic restrictions are in place for the rest of the week around the drop-off and collection points at OR Tambo International. That's security measures ahead of G20 Summit this weekend. So just give yourself extra time to negotiate those arrangements at the airport. Also, Solomon Mshlangu in Pretoria around Waterkloof Air Force Base. Traffic restrictions as required again for the remainder of the week. You may find at times Solomon Mshlangu completely closed down to traffic passing Waterkloof with diversions in operation. Durban looks all right. The N3, no major issues from Pietermaritzburg down to work in Durban or heading the other way. Looks clear. And Cape Town, a vehicle fire incident. N2 inbound at Robert Sobukwe, Danafontaine Road off ramp. It's just past the airport, just slowing traffic coming through from the Khayelitsha side. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
The clock has just struck 8 minutes after 6. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of November, 2025. Live and direct from our studios here at Radio Park Building, here at SABC HQ in Auckland Park in Johannesburg, to wherever you're hearing us from this morning, across the length and breadth of this beautiful land, in every city, every town, dorpy, township, kasi, village, and hamlet, from the highways to the byways, from the hinterland to the heartland. Good morning to you. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107. Among some of what we will tell you over the next 3 hours, controversial businessman, alleged ANC member, and political influence peddler, associate of sidelined Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. We've all called Brown Mokhotsi many things, but if he is to be believed, the name is Brown, Mokhotsi Brown, a long-time intelligence agent who started out as a crime intelligence informant and ended up being a contact agent in the police's spy entity. And if the alleged spy is to be believed, KwaZulu-Natal Commissioner of Police Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and King Misuzulu Kazwelithini are also agents, but they've been recruited by the US's spy agency, the Central Intelligence Agency, that is the CIA, and they have done in that capacity and continue to do the bidding of Western and Israeli interests. And not only that, the self-professed spook further dropped astounding allegations of alleged criminal kingpin Vusumuzi Ketmatlala, allegedly telling him, Brown Mokhotsi, that he, Matlala, had bribed Mkhwanazi, former Minister Bheki and National Police Commissioner Fanny Masemula. So it's a lot that came out from the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry yesterday on day one of Brown Mokhotsi testifying before that commission. We'll get Kenny Mapanga to come through and unpack it all. Quite honestly, there were a lot of allegations being dropped during the first day. And the tone was that he was being allowed, as was done with other witnesses, being allowed to tell his side of the story before the version is being tested, before the version is tested for its robustness. So we'll talk to Kenny Mapanga, who will report at length for us just after 7 a.m. Speaking of that testimony, while it's unfolding, some questions are starting to be raised about the integrity of the country's policing and security institutions. At the heart of the concern is the people like Brown Mokhotsi, whose account exposes a troubling pattern. Individuals like him appear to be able to access state security documents, intelligence briefings, and operational, details and mechanisms and the likes with relative ease, including sensitive crime intelligence material on figures such as Vusumuzi Ketmatlala. It's not a new phenomenon. I think the word used is there are information peddlers. Where do they rank within the structures of our intelligence agencies versus informants, official informants of the intelligence agencies, operatives and agents of those agencies? Because from time to time you hear of someone is in possession of a really sensitive document, and sometimes it is a fabricated document, but in many instances actually there's a lot of truth in what that person possesses, and that document will have some standing. How is that possible? What does it say about the integrity of those agencies and their abilities to control their own processes, procedures, and documents? We'll talk to Chris de Kock about that immediately after we've spoken to Kenny Mapanga for an update. So at about 7:20, we'll pose those questions to Chris de Kock, criminologist, who will weigh in on that. It's a known fact that our prisons are bursting at the seams and that a huge chunk of those in detention facilities are either awaiting trial or awaiting sentencing. The system from first court appearance to sentenced or acquitted is painfully slow and can, in some instances, take several years to conclude. While the judicial system grinds at snail's pace, thousands of accused persons who may or may not be guilty face, languish in prisons in some instances because they cannot afford bail, including bail set at relatively small amounts. Now, the National Case Backlogs Committee is looking at various interventions to try and address this weakness. These may include, we're told, rolling out more digital infrastructure to enable audiovisual appearances and hearings for remand appearances, introducing a presumption in the law that a person who hasn't paid their bail within a week is presumed to be indigent, as well as introducing the use of property as security for bail. So those are some of the ideas bouncing around about how do we ease the population in our prisons, especially the remand detention population, which, as I say, has grown quite significantly over the years and contributes to overcrowding in our prisons. But it's important to stress, and there's great emphasis being placed on this fact that these measures that I just mentioned would not apply to those charged with serious crimes such as Schedule 5 and Schedule 6 offenses in terms of our criminal laws. So at about 9:15, I'll be in conversation with Khomotso Ramolobeng, who is the chairperson of Parliament's Correctional Services Committee, who received a presentation on this a couple of days ago. Morning brief team, to your stations, please, for the takeoff. And Musa is at the news desk. Rob Byrne is watching your traffic. Zaikan has got your sports covered. Melissa Puta with the morning brief in brief. And Ndauleng Lechela, always right on the money with your business and economic updates throughout the 3 hours. And Sipho Mandula will wrap it up nicely for us with the Africa update at about 20 to 7 this morning. Your calls 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get started. The first hour of the Wednesday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
The Expresso Morning Show has been nominated in 5 categories in the 3rd Annual National Film and Television Awards South Africa.
It all happens on Saturday, the 22nd of November 2025 at the South African State Theatre in Pretoria. And public voting is open from the 13th of October to the 20th of November at midday.
So visit nationalfilmacademy.com, register and vote for Expresso Morning Show in all 5 categories.
Then, of course, catch us weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. right here on S3.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, getting us going as she always does is Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief. Melissa, good morning. Rear Admiral Monde Lobese made some headlines and was trending for the comments that he was making about the state of the SANDF. And now it seems he's in a spot of bother.
Yes, good morning, Thulasizwe. The Defense and Military Veterans Minister, Angie Motshekga, has warned that she will take appropriate action against South African Navy Chief Vice Admiral Monde Lubisi for publicly criticizing underfunding in the Navy. Speaking at a gala, Lubisi warned that maritime security is at risk due to dwindling resources and questioned whether budget cuts were influenced by criminal interests, describing the situation as unpatriotic and a sellout posture towards national defense. The Department of Defense clarified that his remarks do not reflect its official position, calling them inappropriate, disingenuous, and unfortunate.
And we were all wondering what's the real reason behind the removal of Deon George as minister. We were given the official reason, and there was always this feeling that there's more to this story,
Yes.
and perhaps it has to do with politics in the DA. Sordid details are starting to come out.
Yes. So after DA leader John Steenhuisen controversially removed Deon George as Environment Minister, attention has turned to Steenhuisen's own finances, including a default judgment for nearly 150,000 rand in unpaid credit card debt. The feud between the two has intensified with mutual allegations of misconduct and disputes over party credit card use. Critiques have also raised concerns over George's replacement, Willie Okamp, and tensions remain high ahead of the DA's April 2026 elective conference. We do have a guest on that to unpack a bit more at 6:50.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be talking to Rebecca Davis of Daily Maverick at about 10 to 7 this morning. Nkosana Makate is on a roll in as far as settling disputes. The one lasted a good 17 years, but it seems he's just getting everything out of the way quite rapidly these days.
Definitely. Nkosana Makate, creator of Vodacom's Please Call Me, has reached an interim agreement with BlackRock Mining, a British Virgin Islands company, claiming 40% of his settlement. The agreement, made shortly before an urgent court hearing, allows Makate to receive his payout from Vodacom while his attorneys hold 40% in a trust pending a court decision in early December. BlackRock asserts entitlement based on a 2011 funding agreement, but Makate argues that the company failed to meet its obligations and that the agreement was terminated in 2015. The settlement amount, estimated to be over 600 million rand, remains undisclosed, and the dispute continues with Makate opposing BlackRock's claim. So this will be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people have been saying it's not cheap to litigate at that level for such a long time. The funders of the litigation, those who assisted him, were always going to come calling. Melissa, thank you for that. That's Melissa Buta with the morning brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, there's one warning. It's an impact-based warning. It's a yellow level 1 warning. It says severe thunderstorms leading to localized damage to infrastructure, as well as localized short-term disruption to municipal services due to heavy downpours and strong winds. Those conditions are expected over the south-central parts of Limpopo and the eastern highveld of Mpumalanga. In Pretoria, it will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers with a minimum of 15 and a maximum of 27. Johannesburg, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 12 to 25. Same conditions in Vereeniging with a minimum of 15 and a maximum of 23. Mbombela, cloudy with fog in the morning, otherwise partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 14 to 23. Polokwane, cloudy with fog in the morning, becoming partly cloudy with scattered afternoon showers and rain, 13 to 24. Mahikeng, partly cloudy, 15 to 29. Bloemfontein, partly cloudy, 14 to 29. Kimberley, fine, 15 to 30. Uppington, fine, 19 to 33. Cape Town will be fine and windy, 17 to 28. George will be partly cloudy with a minimum of 13 and a maximum of 23. Gqeberha, partly cloudy, 14 to 22. East London, cloudy with light rain, 16 to 21. Durban will be cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 16 to 24. Richards Bay will be cloudy with showers and thunder showers, 16 to 25. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will be cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 12 to 22.
SAFM commemorates Disability Rights Awareness Month under the theme Celebrating 30 Years of Democracy, Creating Strategic, Multi-Sectoral Partnerships for a Disability-Inclusive Society. SAFM supports and works tirelessly towards equity and equality for those with disabilities. Empowerment is key. Let us break the barriers and improve the quality of life for those with disabilities. Our efforts towards a better life for those with disabilities can only be impactful when we do so together. We do not tolerate any kind of discrimination. Disability Awareness Month 2025 on SAFM 104 to 107 FM nationwide, leading the conversations that move us. Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
22 minutes after 6. Let's take you to the UK, where revised immigration figures, are revealing a dramatic rise in the number of British nationals leaving the country, fueling warnings of a dangerous brain drain. Updated methodology from the Office for National Statistics, ONS, shows that far more Britons, particularly young professionals and high earners, emigrated in 2024 than previously estimated. The figures land amid a fierce national debate over migration as Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood introduces the most sweeping asylum reforms since the Second World War. Let's speak to Musa Mdunge, a political analyst who joins us now to pick up on that conversation. Musa, good morning, and thank you for your time as always. It's counterintuitive, isn't it? You think that the UK is a magnet for inward migration. But it seems, if these figures are to be believed, that actually at the same time, quite a lot of Britons are leaving the island.
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to your listeners. Certainly so, right? I mean, when we think of the United Kingdom, we think of it as being a natural sort of hub, that attracts talent and attracts people to there. I mean, I myself have studied there. But certainly this has more to do to us about the conditions faced by the local citizens of the country. I mean, since Brexit in 2016, the United Kingdom has really been struggling in terms of its economic growth, where the growth is supposed to come from, besides London. London's always seen as the figure of attraction. But when you leave London and go to the north, all of a sudden the picture changes. You face a population that's facing higher cost of living crisis in terms of the gas prices they pay, electricity prices, even food prices, and wages have really, really not grown for the past 10, 15 years in the United Kingdom when you then expose it to the rising inflation. And so what we're seeing is a response here by the British, particularly the young people who are choosing to move to places like the United States, Canada, and Australia, where they see far less cost and higher wages. And that seems to be action.
And you mentioned Brexit, and I do remember that this was part of the conversation, wasn't it, about in the build up to Brexit, the integration and the ease of movement with which people could move between the UK and other parts of the country. Does that continue to be a factor?
Oh, certainly so. It continues to be a huge debate. In fact, it is the reason that is fueling the current reforms in Home Secretary's policies that she's trying to push currently, making it harder, for example, for asylum seekers to gain permanent residency or citizenship, what's from 5 years to 20 years. There are other policy moves to try and, strengthen the borders in the United Kingdom that have been quite a hot debate. And remember, it is part of the things that fueled victory for the Brexiters in 2016 was the issue of immigration that they won on. But now, all of a sudden, with immigration happening from the British citizens, that raises a new debate. And the Labour government is facing pressure on terms of its economic policy. They've got the budget coming up very soon. And so such numbers don't do well for the confidence of the British people in terms of this Labour administration that is really struggling in terms of this debate.
Say a bit more about those asylum and refugee reforms. We're told they're the most sweeping since the end of the Second World War. What do they entail, and why are they stirring so much debate?
They really are quite sweeping. I mean, for one, as I said to you, the expansion of time here, I for one know a few friends who have had to fall into the asylum program given the conditions in their own country. And if these reforms were to be placed, none of them would have been able to succeed in their application. Because not only does it take the time, but also they are putting in new sort of centers that will respond quicker to the application process terms of asylum seekers, because one of the arguments that's been made is that given how long the process takes, then by virtue, the law as it currently stands forces the state, even in this interim process, to support the asylum applicant. And there then also is the issue here that they are also trying to deal with. And so these reforms would one would reduce the number of time, but also those who then accept the asylum process and are accepted by it are now forced to work. There's been this period where people could choose if they want to work or not, and they still receive support. But that's all going out of the window now under this Labour administration. That is facing renewed pressure politically because of the Reform Party, whose rise in UK politics has been on this issue of immigration. In many ways, they're thinking ahead in 2029.
Yeah.
How do we nip the growth of Reform Party, but at the same time deal with what is a very, very critical issue to the British people?
Fascinating times. A lot of changes happening in the United Kingdom around that system of immigration as well as asylum laws. Thank you for that, Musam Dunge, political analyst.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
It's a very good morning to you. Let's start with cricket news. This time we go straight to South Africa's Test captain Temba Bavuma, finally getting global flowers from none other than Indian legend Anil Kumble. Kumble says Bavuma deserves to sit at the table of modern greats, praising him for winning 10 of his 11 tests as skipper, lifting the World Test Championship and steering the Proteas to their first Test win in India in 15 years this past weekend. Bavuma has also been South Africa's top run scorer over the past 2 years. Now let's go to the Springbok assistant coach, Mzwandile Stick, saying they're losing players through recent disciplinary decisions. He expresses concern over the consistency of some calls in their past two tests, the recent red cards shown to Luat Diaga and Franco Mostert against France and Italy, respectively, has seen the former receive a 4-match ban suspension.
It's that the build-up towards the Italy game, it was good. You know, if you look at the Italian side, how they played even the previous week, you know, and the spirit in Turin, you know, everyone was looking forward to the game, and then for the game to turn the way it was, you know, because if you're saying that Franco Mostert is a red card, probably there would have been over the weekend. If you saw the incident that happened over the weekend, surely it was supposed to be more than 5, you know, red cards, you know, and then all of a sudden other situations they become yellow card, and then I think we're just disappointed with the way things are being handled at the moment, you know.
That's Springbok assistant coach Mzwandile Stick here on the morning brief. Now, Springbok powerhouse Oxen Chair has become the first prop to be nominated for the World Rugby Player of the Year award, and that was introduced in 2001. He's one of 4 nominees announced for the 2025 awards, joining Bok teammates Peter Steph du Toit and Malcolm Marx, as well as France wing Louis Bilbiari. And it's the second nomination for Marx, who made the shortlist in 2018. Let's go to soccer. Scotland are going to the World Cup after a 4-2 win over Denmark. Wales, they produced a blistering 7-1 win over North Macedonia. That's their biggest victory in 47 years. To Asia, Iraq's dream of reaching the 2026 FIFA World Cup remains alive after a 2-1 victory over the UAE in Basra. And Spain, they clinched automatic qualification despite being held 2-2 by Turkey in Seville. And finally, golf, as the Sunshine Tour's Vodacom Origins of Golf series heads into its season finale, Maketa Mokoena is looking to finish 2025 on a high. The final tees off on Thursday at the Pazula Golf Estate in Knysna, the same venue where the series first launched in 2004 and has since produced stars like Brandon Grace, George Coetzee, and Dean Burmester. That's your sport. Swing back. We'll bring you more top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Batoy, is now expected to testify today at the Nkabinde inquiry in Pretoria. The delayed list of targeted witnesses by the NPA has led to the rescheduling of a testimony. She was scheduled to have testified yesterday. President Cyril Ramaphosa has assured corporate South Africa that it has the support of government in its efforts to establish trade and investment opportunities throughout the continent. Ramaphosa addressed a working dinner with South African CEOs as part of the G20 outreach program. And the city of Johannesburg has clarified what it terms misinformation surrounding the removal of a banner by civic group Solidarity along the M1 motorway. The city says the banner was set up unlawfully and in contravention of the city's bylaws. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. This is really important information if you need to get to or from OR Tambo International Airport, particularly from a drop-off and collection, drop-off and go situation. Over the next few days, there are some traffic restrictions that will be in place around that facility at OR Tambo. It's all to do with the security measures put in place, obviously, for the G20 summit. So if you need to get to the airport to drop somebody, or you need to get out there to collect somebody, and you'd normally go in and do that quick sort of park and turnaround thing, that's all sort of changed up. There's alternative arrangements, and just what we're saying saying is give yourself extra time. It's a little bit hard to say exactly how much time you'll need to get through that. It depends on the time of the day. It depends on the volume of flights coming in. It depends on how busy the airport is. But I would play it safe. Give yourself a ton of time. You know what it's like. You get somewhere, you're not familiar with it. It's all closed down, and then you've got to go somewhere else, and you're not really clear about what's going on. So just play it safe right through this week until the other side of the weekend. Roads this morning, Mike 1 Boyson's through to Empire Road looking fairly heavy. The N1 is becoming a problem these days with just really heavy traffic coming from Eldos up through Devlin. M1 through Dipcliffe down to Uncle Charlie's, absolutely jam-packed again today. And the N4 going into Pretoria is quite a heavy backlog from Vartamar Street through towards the N1 highway. Good news coming out of Durban side this morning. Cliffdale, Key Ridge looking fine. No major problems there. That's always worth a check, and it's a good news check this morning. Baden Powell, open or closed? It's debatable. Some people saying it's closed. Other motorists saying no, they've been able to get through. It's due to the sand at Monwabisi. Just be aware there may be potential closures around that section of the coastal route. And crash scenes on the M1 into town at Durban Road, and then shortly thereafter, just after Yiptayaga Slow on the run-in from Brackenfell along N1 highway. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
All right, let's turn to Ndauling Lichela for the first update of the morning. Ndauling, let's start with matters in the tech space. I didn't know this was still on the go, this whole antitrust competition law issue around Meta acquiring Instagram and WhatsApp. That's been on the go, but it's now been it's finalized, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. Thulasizwe. The tech firm can breathe a sigh of relief after it won high-profile antitrust case against the U.S. Federal Trade Commission. This comes as a federal judge ruled the agency failed to prove that Meta currently holds a monopoly in social networking. Some of us can argue otherwise, but getting back into those details, in a memorandum, the FTC did not demonstrate a present-day antitrust violation, even if Meta's past acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp were contentious. Now, the judge found the FTC offered no empirical evidence that Meta's apps remain dominant, while Meta presented data showing it's increasingly view TikTok and YouTube as alternatives. And he said the judge, that is, user trends have shifted so significantly towards video that core features of Facebook and Instagram are now indistinguishable from rival platforms, adding that consumers have moved massive amounts of time to competitors. Now, the FTC first brought the case 5 years ago and amended its complaint in 2021 with an initial dismissal. While Meta celebrates the FTC is not giving up, saying that it will be reviewing its options moving forward.
And a tripartite deal between Microsoft, Anthropic, and NVIDIA.
Yeah, deal making in the AI sector really not showing any signs of slowing, even as the broader tech standoff deepens. As Microsoft announced an infrastructure partnership with Anthropic and NVIDIA, move that further distances it from its once exclusive relationship with OpenAI. Anthropic is the maker of the Claude chatbot and has committed to buying $30 billion in capacity from Microsoft Azure Cloud. NVIDIA will invest up to $10 billion in Anthropic, while Microsoft will add as much as $5 billion. Now, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said the agreement strengthens Microsoft's ability to offer their AI infrastructure and model choice, even as he described the company's partnership with OpenAI as still critical. But the shifting landscape is quite clear here. OpenAI has been securing its own cloud and chip supplies deals, Oracle, Flipkart, and other data center players, reducing its reliance on Microsoft over time, and the tech sector is under.
Lastly, Ndauling, recap for us how we closed yesterday and the tone that is being set in the markets this morning.
We've been talking about that tech sector, and I mentioned the tech sell-off in particular that really weighing on markets over the past 2 weeks. So US stocks extending their losses overnight, with the S&P 500 and Dow recording a fourth straight day in the red as concerns grow around overstretched valuations. That downbeat momentum spilled into local trade, with all shares slipped 1.7%, dragged by a nearly 2.5% drop in the Resi 10. The risk-off mood is weighing on commodities too, with oil down 0.3%, trading just below $65 a barrel this morning. Rand, however, holding up well ahead of the SARB's rate decision. The economists divided on whether we'll see a cut. It's trading at 17.19 to the dollar this hour. Lastly, in Asia, it's another day of red screens as caution builds ahead of Nvidia's results.
All right, Ntauling, thank you for that. We'll catch up with you in the second hour of the show, just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
For that, we turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. As you always say, Sipho, as you always say, in the name of the mother, the daughter, and the son-in-law, that's how it's playing out in Tanzania.
Refreshing morning to us and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, to us, what I call him Mesuma Kumlade. Remember Kumlade come from the 98.
Yes.
Sulu Hassan announcing the 27 ministers and ministers, a bloated cabinet to that. But what are the names that have shown interest in the media? Is his daughter, one Hafidira Amiri, who now serves as the deputy minister of education. The husband, Mohammed Ichendera, is the minister of health. I saw the name also of the son of the former president Jakaya Kikwete. Ridawani Kikwete also being appointed as the Minister of Service Management Governance. Minister of Foreign Affairs Tula say interestingly he's still remaining that seat, Tabitha Kongo, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We have seen this case before. Look at his neighbor, Uganda Museveni, the first lady, Janet Museveni. His son, Muhusi, he's the head of defense force. You go to Rwanda, the daughter of President Kagame, Ange is Kagame is in the political office. So this is not a mystery that what we see from Mesuma Kumlade to Hassan.
Yeah. Let's talk about the curse of, the minerals curse in parts of the African continent, specifically the DRC. Tell me what decisions are being made by the government in Kinshasa regarding export and trade of minerals from artisanal mining sites.
We know this ban in February came out in May, June, and this is an extension ban again on the trading of minerals from 30 artisanal mining sites in the North conflict of Northern Kivu. And this you will understand, they are saying that it's a broader effort to strengthen what they call traceability and reduce the influence of the armed groups that are benefiting from illegal mine trade in the region. These key metals, we know them, they are the ones that put the electronics, automotive, and aerospace industry. And this way we see the issue that I've been saying of natural sources being the drivers of conflict. The government in Kinshasa putting this ban also to those key minerals in your tin, your tantalum, your tungsten. Those are the key minerals that has put the DRC blessing is something.
And then closer to home, Sipho, in the Southern African region, tell me about what's emerging, the details that are emerging for the first time around this deal between the United States and the Kingdom of Eswatini, in terms of which a number of people were taken from the US but not deported to their countries of origin, but deported to Eswatini.
Thulas, remember there's a lawsuit. That's why we are getting these figures now that how much did the kingdom receive from Washington? They've received almost 5.1 million for the exchange for accepting the third country deportees. There were 15 originally, Thulas. One was from Kingston, Jamaica. He was repatriated back to Jamaica. 15 are still in Eswatini. It's reportedly that there's another one that will be coming, more than 140 Thulas that will be coming. And that's where the government said, no, that money is channeled through the National Disaster Management Agency. So it still shows that the Trump administration is able to stay the kingdom of Eswatini with $5.1 million with this exchange of the third country.
And lastly then, Sipho, your historical archive. Take us to 19 November 1930.
So I'm looking at 2 days quickly, 19 November 1930 and 19 November 1981, very key This man, they call him, he was in that generation of journalists, most educated from mission schools, hard-nosed, hard-drinking, the love of English language, to us training to push for journalism.
Yeah.
We're talking about Ubud Basil, people, Neo, Bridgeman, known as Dr. Teacher Tulas, was born at the Bridgeman Memorial Hospital in Mayfair. And this is one of the guys that you recall Tulas. He covered the Rivonia trial in 1956. You can't talk about Dr. Teacher without connecting Block Modisani and Natna, Ken Temba, there's no way. He's the guy who wrote a book from Josie, I mean from Joburg to Josie, and as well from another book also Way to Out. We look also at this was too, like the what I call the TRC files that is coming out 1981. It's almost 44 years since he was assassinated. And we know who were the people who confessed, despite that there was an inquest saying that he died of unknown persons and they didn't know. But the self-confessed, we know names like Gary Cotier, Almond Nofobela, Joe Mamasela, and Mulunga, David Chigalanga. These were police agents or handlers of the apartheid squad who killed Peter Mhlanga. Remember those files pillars were in the TRC Amnesty Committee, and that's how when you see a veteran and a apartheid the Congress legal mind recall in this case. It was within the conversation at the
Fascinating archive there. Thank you for that, Sipo. That's Sipo Mandula with your Africa update for today.
Steadies understands that victory in their own backyard is highly important before the going gets tough on foreign soil. While the Congolese Giants want to kick off their group stage campaign on a high note. This is the CAF Confederation Cup encounter. Stellenbosch FC versus AS Otoho. This Sunday, 23 November at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation.
SAFM, in partnership with the Luthuli Museum, bring you the 19th annual Chief Albert Luthuli Memorial Lecture, which will be delivered by the Director General of the World Trade Organization, the WTO, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, on Thursday, the 20th of November, 2025, from 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. The theme for this year's lecture will be reflecting on the work of the World Trade Organization and its global impact. The lecture will be live on the Luthuli Museum Facebook page and the Luthuli Museum and University of KwaZulu-Natal YouTube platforms. Tune in to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, coming to you from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, bringing you the lecture live on SAFM. The annual Luthuli Memorial Lecture is a partnership event between the Luthuli Museum, Luthuli Foundation, Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, and the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
This November, SAFM proudly presents the 3rd annual lecture.
And as the Freedom Charter says, no legitimate government could claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people. And I think sometimes people forget that.
SAFM invites you to our 3rd annual public lecture, delivered by Chancellor of the Nelson Mandela University, Dr. Geraldine Fraser-Muleketi. The theme of the lecture is confronting inequality, corruption and unemployment, rebuilding South Africa's social contract for inclusive and sustainable growth. The lecture will take place on the 27th of November 2025 at the Indaba Hotel, Spa and Conference Center in Fourways, Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at rsvp@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
Yeah, so the number to dial if you want to get in touch and be in conversation with me is 086 000 2032. Let me go to this story now. The political fallout from Dion George's abrupt removal as the country's environment minister has intensified, drawing renewed scrutiny on DA leader John Steenhuisen's alleged financial troubles. As factions within the party trade accusations ahead of the crucial 2026 elective Congress, disclosures about Steenhuisen's personal finances, including an unpaid credit card debt that led to a default judgment, have raised questions about vulnerability to political influence and the internal dynamics shaping the Democratic Alliance's leadership battles. It's all part of the work of journalist Rebecca Davis and the team at Daily Maverick who've been uncovering some of those details. Let's say good morning to Rebecca. Rebecca, good morning. Many of us were wondering, there was always the official explanation for why Dion George, the DA requested that Dion George be removed, but there was always that speculation that always said there are other dynamics. In the work that you've done, what are some of the key dynamics at play?
Hi, Tila. It's lovely to speak with you. It's an interesting question because as it stands, we have no firm evidence that, for instance, the speculation that John Steenhuisen was trying to appease various lobbies to do with hunting or canned wildlife, etc. There's no firm evidence for any of that. But it is also true that there has never been a clear explanation of exactly why John Steenhuisen wanted to remove Dion George from the Agriculture Ministry. We initially heard it was because John Steenhuisen so much wanted Dion George to take up the Deputy Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition position, and that Dion George was not keen for this. But after that, we've seen various other reports that it was underperformance, that it was as a result of a number of complaints laid against Dion George. And basically, it seems as if there may be something of a smear campaign against Dion George currently going on via the media ever since environmental groups started raising serious concerns about why it was that Dion George was being removed.
So, but in the meantime, though, Rebecca, what we are hearing is conversations that were until now heard in hushed tones are starting to be amplified. Tell me what you've uncovered around the personal finances of the Minister of Agriculture, the DA leader, John Steenhuisen.
So, as you say about hushed tones, it has been an open secret in the DA for many years that John Steenhuisen has struggled to manage his personal finances. And at Daily Maverick, we started looking into this because of the suggestion that the removal of Dion George might have been designed to appease various interest groups. And what we discovered was that in May this year, there was a default judgment granted against John Steenhuisen in the Cape Town Magistrates Court for unpaid credit card debt of around 150,000 rand. Now, Tilas, obviously, a lot of South Africa struggles with debt and struggles with repayment. But the issue here is that at this stage, John Steenhuisen would have been on a minister's salary for almost a full year. And that minister's salary is currently 2.69 million for a year. So it does raise questions about how on earth it is possible that under those circumstances, he was not able to make some kind of a payment plan with the bank, etc. The default judgment obviously is issued against one when you have failed to respond to a legal summons in any way, when you have failed to make any kind of a payment plan at all.
I stand to be corrected, but I do recall covering a DA Congress where I was told that the principle is that you should be able to show that you are able to sustain yourself and therefore are not vulnerable to being influenced as a politician. When you approached the DA leader, what was the response?
He said that his personal finances were none of our business, essentially. And let's two things here. First is I'd be interested if Mr. Steenhuisen would respond in the same way to reporting on an ANC or EFF MP whose personal finances are often in the public eye. But secondly, I think it is a very well respected and established principle, as you've just said, that politicians' personal finances are actually in the public interest because it makes them vulnerable to external influence. And this is why Parliament, for instance, publishes its annual register of members' interests, where MPs have to disclose a whole bunch of stuff about their financial status, including the property they own, the stocks they own. their interest generating, their income generating assets, and so forth. So that explanation is not entirely convincing. It is also true that in various business spaces, you are not permitted to be a leader if you have a default judgment against you. You're also not permitted to be an MP if you've been previously declared bankrupt, for exactly the same principle, that it makes you vulnerable to external forces.
So just put all of this in the context for us, Rebecca, against the context of the DA going to its next Congress in April 2026. Are we seeing more and more crystallizing of perhaps factions and divisions, with the result that these conversations, as I say, that were being had in harsh tones are now being amplified, and leaks are not unthinkable in that period?
Well, it's interesting because it appears that John Steenhuisen's personal financial troubles also extend to his party financial troubles, because we've established that the DA's Federal Finance Committee had to take away his DA credit card earlier this year because the account could not be reconciled. And the person who was ultimately responsible for taking away that credit card was Dion George, who is the treasurer of the DA. However, I don't think any of this would be coming to light, Thulas, if it weren't for the fact that Dion George had been axed with such a mysterious lack of explanation. That's why we're seeing these factions now forming. We're seeing the Steenhuisen camp, which is clearly attempting to spread various media narratives about George, and the opposite camp doing the same. And as you say, we are coming up to the DA's Congress next year in April, the Leadership Congress, where John Steenhuisen is expected, as things stand, to stand for leadership again. Will this have any impact on him? It could well do. And clearly there are divisions within the DA that are being exploited as a result of these moves.
Sure, let's see how it all unfolds. Thank you for that. Rebecca Davis is a journalist at Daily Maverick.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, here's a big one, and if you're heading out to the airport, you'll need to know about this. It's a burning truck on Joburg's N12 eastbound, just by the R24 airport split. Truck fire incident there. Very heavy backlogs, particularly N3 North, coming from Germiston all the way up to Galulis, and on that ramp off the N3 onto the N12 East towards Boksburg and the airport. Very heavy. You don't want to sort of be Albert and Germiston side heading to the airport and joining that at Ilan's interchange. It really is pretty solid. Everyone else coming into Joburg from Ekurhuleni having a look at that. So N12 and R24 routes on the way into Galulis are heavily back this morning. Roadworks on the N3 North of Buccleuch South at London still there. Major delays as well on the N1 North from the Eldorado Park area. We've now got a crash near the Soweto Highway exit. So the N1, which is already jammed through Diepkloof, and now extends the jam even further up passing Soweto. So from the N12 Potch Highway all the way up to Soweto Highway, that section of the N1 is under a lot of pressure as well. N4 into Pretoria, very heavy this morning from Solomon Mashlangu down through Watermeer and down towards the N4. You might want to, or the N1 highway, you might want to just avoid that N4 inbound towards the N1. It's badly backed up. Lights are down on Johan Haynes around Annie Buerta, so the run through Gazina looking pretty dreadful as well this morning. Durban, there's just been a crash on the N2 at Munzum Toti. That is Durban bound before Adams Road. Stationary truck before Spaghetti Junction southbound, so that's all backed up through Umgena Road. And Cape Town's N1 inbound is heavy as well today. A crash after Durban Road, a crash after Yip de Jager. Two separate crashes pushing a queue all the way back through to Kraaifontein. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Lesotho does not mind visitors, provided 3 points remain in KZN. However, Zwelele refused to travel to Durban as tourists. They want nothing but victory. This is the Midweek Premiership. Forever! Amazulu FC versus Zwelele FC on Saturday, 22 November at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 1. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Introducing South Africa's most affordable way to get hearing aids. At Specsavers Audiology, you can now get a pair of hearing aids from as little as 599 Rand per month. Hearing clearly shouldn't be a luxury. Enjoy life's moments from 599 Rand per month. Test your hearing today and join the conversation with Specsavers Audiology. T's and C's apply.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Let me start with a call from Xolani in KZN. Good morning to you, Xolani.
Morning, Thulasizwe.
Ngiyaphila kunjani?
I'm all good.
Potelvi, yesterday I was looking forward to listening to two testimonies. One that of and one that of Mama. Unfortunately, I'm one of those that went to his event in Museveni. So
What do you mean,
actually,
unfortunately?
no, it's very unfortunate that when I see my lady, I have to now and then think of this lady. I remember in her class, um, I'm
Mhm.
open and
Age, yeah?
that we have
Mm.
capacity to present herself. She used to be a
Yes.
but I'm not there. I'm concerned also about the fact that when I'm looking at the characters that are associated with me, sharing it was we talk about him ascending to a position of a president in the
Yes.
ANC, most likely to succeed to a president in the ANC. When I'm looking at the characters that are associated with him, people what Jaime Kanazi Peter is in a sense was this weekend
Mhm.
because they're going to be by the strike
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
by the poultry. So in a way, we are safe. It's more like financing stress to reset
Yeah.
in this whole mess.
No, Kolani, I want to add to what you're saying. That even if it doesn't rise to the level of criminality, a
Yes,
politician who espouses leadership, ambitions,
yes,
has to
yes.
have a level of circumspection about the company you keep. And
I
I think at the
promise you,
very
Putran.
least, and I
I
think there's
promise
a
you, Putran.
point to be made about that. Yeah.
But sorry, that's the last one. I
Mm.
remember me not lots of meetings from my grandfather, not because of my wrongdoings, but because of the wrongdoings of
It was
the
your
persons
wrongdoing.
that no, it was the wrongdoing sometimes of the people that are seen to be my
Yeah.
friends or to be my
Yeah.
associates. So associate
Yeah.
it will say a lot
All
about
right.
correct.
Olani, thank you for that. And also just the question of what value do you see in some of these characters as someone who holds public office and you bring these people close into your orbit to do what? To advise you. And then when you get exposed to these people and the rest of South Africa says, are these your advisors? Wow. All right, let's go to Ann Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Advocate Butoi to testify at Nkabinde inquiry after a witness list delay, and experts reveal main cause of a chronic disease pandemic. Good morning. National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Butoi, is now expected to testify today at the Nkabinde inquiry in Pretoria. The delayed list of targeted witnesses by the NPA has led to the rescheduling of a testimony. She was scheduled to have testified yesterday. This was due to outstanding documents and authorization of NPA officials to testify on behalf of the suspended South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Andrew Chauke. He's appearing before the inquiry, probing his fitness to hold office. The NPA's evidence leader, Advocate David Muhlomonyane, has assured the inquiry that they will abide by the judge's order to avoid further delays.
We've already made contact with one or two of them, but I still have to make contact with some of them. One of them is in KZN. I still have to call him to talk to him.
Thank you. I don't want to belay the point, and this inquiry should not be delayed, and I'll emphasize it again and again, that let's make sure that we are on track, at least towards the festive season. Around Christmas time, we should have made progress because we started 1.5 months late.
I take your point, Madam Chair. I take your point.
Dr. Mary De Haas from the KwaZulu-Natal Violence Monitor says she supports the decision to disband the political killings task team. De Haas was answering questions from members of the ad hoc parliamentary committee. The committee was established to investigate allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the justice system. The allegations were made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, during a media briefing in July. De Haas says she might not be aware of the details to disband the PKTT by Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, but she agrees with the decision.
I can't say that he did that. I mean, I think it was a good decision to disband the team. I think it was a... that wasn't the question, but okay. I mean, as a minister, I'm not really in a position to evaluate, because I've never ever spoken to him about all the reasons. You know, maybe he could have called me and asked about it. I don't know. But I've never spoken to him about, well, what else led you to disband it? We never had that conversation. So how can I make a proper assessment, I think?
President Cyril Ramaphosa has assured corporate South Africa that it has the support of government in its efforts to establish trade and investment opportunities throughout the continent. He has urged the business community to continue to innovate and strengthen its trading capacity despite the challenging environment. Ramaphosa was addressing the G20 Chief Executives Working Dinner in Sandton.
The implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area will profoundly transform market access for South African goods, services and investments. It will help to drive regional integration and value chains across borders. It will expand opportunities for businesses to access a wider African market of about 1.4 billion people at the moment and rising even more when we reach 2.5 billion people. And currently with a combined GDP of $3.4 trillion.
The city of Johannesburg has clarified what it terms misinformation surrounding the removal of a banner by civic group Solidarity along the M1 motorway. The city says the banner was set up unlawfully and in contravention of the city's bylaws. The city has denied that the decision to remove the banner was due to the upcoming G20 Leaders Summit. Kensani Chauke reports.
The City of Johannesburg says, in terms of the 2009 outdoor advertising bylaws, any party seeking to erect, install or display outdoor advertising sign on city-owned property must make an application and obtain formal approval from the city. However, no such application was submitted in relation to the banner in question. Solidarity approached the High Court seeking the banner's reinstatement, but has since withdrawn the matter. The City of Joburg says it has offered to retain the banner to Solidarity in condition that it is not reinstalled anywhere in the city until Solidarity comply with the applicable bylaws.
And finally, researchers have warned that ultra-processed foods are a leading cause of what they call a pandemic of chronic disease, resulting in obesity, heart disease, cancer, and early death. More than 40 experts have accused food companies of putting profits above all else. The BBC's Bernadette Kihu reports.
The international team of researchers says ultra-processed foods present too great a danger to health to wait any longer to take action against them. They say products containing high levels of saturated fat, salt, sugar and additives are displacing fresh food. Examples include processed meats, crisps, mass-produced bread, ready meals and fizzy drinks. The researchers take aim at a handful of massive food corporations, calling for them to face marketing restrictions and extra taxes.
Recapping the top story, National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Batoy, is expected to testify at the Nkabinde inquiry today, following a delay. She was scheduled to have testified yesterday. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes on social media Or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 GWM P Series, 54-year-old Amos now pays only 1,004 Rand a month. And for his 2024 Toyota Urban Cruiser, 55-year-old Andre pays just 776 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports Headlines Rugby, we've begin with the Springbok assistant coach Mzwandile Stick questioning the officiating consistencies as the Boks pile on all the red cards possible. And in soccer news, Scotland qualify for the first Men's World Cup in 28 years. Details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Morning traffic headlines around the country. The N12R24 routes going east through Galulis with a truck fire by the airport. But very heavy backlogs, particularly up the N3 north from Elans up to Galulis and then down passing that scene. Also the N3 south will backlog on that link onto the N12 as well. R24, N12 routes coming in from Ekurhuleni passing that scene quite heavily backed up. The N1 north under pressure from El Dorado Park through to Soweto. It's a weight of traffic up to Diepkloof and then a crash scene up by the Soweto Highway exit. Durban, the N2 south queuing heavily into a breakdown before Spaghetti Junction, queues back to Inunda Road. Crash coming north into Durban through Amman's Shoti, slowing things up near Adams Road. And Cape Town, two crash scenes on the N1 this morning, one at Durban Road, the other at Yiptiaga. The N1 into town negotiating those crashes all the way back to Kraaifontein. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 7 on this Wednesday. It is great to be in your company. Welcome to it, the second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM. We are on 104 to 107 nationwide, but also live on all our digital platforms. That is safm.co.za on the website. And you can navigate there and actually go directly to the live link for the station. But also, we are live on YouTube. We are SAFM Radio and also on Facebook and on X at SAFM Radio. Coming up in this half hour, we'll be talking. His name is Mokgotsi, Brown Mokgotsi. He is claiming that he's an intelligence agent. And he says, he was first recruited as an informant, but rose through the ranks and became a contact agent, is what he calls it. But there were a lot of astounding allegations that came from Brown Mokgotsi's testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry yesterday. Kenny Mapanga, SABC News reporter, is on standby to give us an update on that. But coming off the back of that, we want to reflect on the ease with which people, call them information peddlers, call them informants, or, I don't know, loose associates of the intelligence establishment of the country, the ease with which they can access documents that ordinarily you would think would be difficult to access, classified information, knowledge of operations, knowledge of who is the target of what intelligence work that is being done. Isn't that disturbing? What does it say about the state of these intelligence agencies, their ability to control their own processes, as well as, the products of the work that they do? So we'll reflect on that with Chris de Kock, who will weigh in on that particular situation. But of course, we want you to be a part of the conversation. There was a lot going on yesterday. The two testimonies that were happening. In fact, split attention is our thing these days. Because while Brown Mokhotsi was at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, Meriti Haas was appearing before the ad hoc committee in Parliament. And then you had the inquiry into the fitness or otherwise to hold office of the DPP in South Gauteng, Andrew Chauke, also on the go at the same time. So there's quite a lot that's demanding our attention, all in the midst of all these preparations for the G20 Leaders Summit that is taking place in the next few days. So do give me a call on any of these issues or anything else that's on your mind this morning. I'm on 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Or you can send me a WhatsApp voice note or even a message on 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The second hour of the Wednesday edition of the Morning Brief.
5 teams, one epic journey. No flights, no smartphones, just grit, maps, and pure determination. Race Across the World Season 3 is back, and the stakes have never been higher. From bustling cities to remote villages, who will conquer the chaos and cross the finish line first? Thursdays at 6 p.m. only on S3.
What's one more thing you can do for a child today? Could it be one clinic visit for their next vaccination?
Or say something that will really tickle my brain.
Maybe one healthy lunchbox snack to fuel their day.
Or say something that makes me feel good about myself.
Or one strong no to alcohol in your home.
Just one thing today could change our tomorrow. Visit holdmyhand.org.za.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Controversial businessman, alleged ANC member, and political influence peddler, associate of sidelined police minister Senzo Mchunu. We've all called Brown Mokhotsi many things, but if he is to be believed, the name is Mokhotsi, Brown Mokhotsi, a long-time intelligence agent who started out as a crime intelligence informant and ended up being a contact agent in the police's spy entity. And if the alleged spy is to be believed, KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and King Misuzulu Kazwelithini are also agents, but they were recruited by the US's spy agency, the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, and they've done the bidding for Western and Israeli interests in that capacity. And not only that, he further dropped astounding allegations of alleged criminal kingpin Vusumuzi Ket Matlala, allegedly telling him, Mokhotsi, that he, Matlala, had bribed Mkhwanazi, former Minister Bheki Cele, and National Police Commissioner Fani Masimula. There was a lot that came out from that testimony. So let's touch base then with SABC News reporter Kenny Mapanga, who's been tracking it all. Kenny, good morning and thank you for your time. So as I say, a lot was coming out. I kept trying to read your facial expressions because I could see you a few rows, a few rows behind the evidence leaders, but I could not read your facial expressions. What were the main highlights for you?
Well, good morning to you, Tulas, and to the listeners. It was quite interesting testimony from Brian Makoti because it's quite clear that he's going into this world of intelligence because that is going to be his defense in respect of his conduct that we've seen been presented before the Mandanga Commission. Because remember, he's not only been placed at the center of these allegations of criminality, political interference, and corruption in the criminal justice system, but what the intelligence witnesses, if we can put it that way, have done is that they've extracted those WhatsApp exchanges which really show the extent to which he allegedly received the benefit from Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. And then, of course, it leaves questions surrounding where that benefit could have possibly gone from him as the quote unquote middleman. So he's the only link to, at this stage, the police minister, Senzo Mkhunu, on a leave of absence with respect to this one particular alleged cartel member that is Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. So his version is up against actual hard evidence. And of course, that hard evidence is what has been used to link him to Kunu and subsequently link it to the decision to disband the PKT once it counts on those alleged cartel members. So essentially, what he's stating is that he lays a foundation to say that he is essentially a contact agent or he has a long career spanning from 1993 in intelligence. And then he states to the commission that he received, I guess, a task from a particular handler. And his task is to investigate two things, the crime intelligence operations, and then, of course, the tender of Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. And how he's painted it to the commission is that when you are a contact agent, you create perceptions in order for people to trust you, and you behave in a certain way where you promise certain things that will never materialize. The difficulty with that is that although he states that he was, I guess, pretending in order to gain the trust of Matlala in order to investigate him and his tender, one, that investigation has not produced anything from Brown Mokgotsi. When he's asked the question as, okay, well, what did the investigation amount to? He says it's still ongoing. And then there's also no explanation behind what part of being a contact agent requires you to persistently ask for some kind of benefits, particularly monetary benefits in his case, from the particular person that you're investigating. What part of your investigation included trips to Cape Town, accommodation, entertainment, small amounts of 10,000 here and there to
Yeah.
keep you afloat? All of that is just not in sync with the claim of being a contact agent.
Added to that, Kenny, is it becoming clear that the intention is to flip the script, as it were, on those who have accused him, especially in the police establishment, the likes of General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi as well as Dumisani Khumalo?
Not only to flip the script to us, but it seems to distance Nkunu as far as possible, rather, from the allegations, because you've seen him state that he's not surprised that Mkwanazi made that 6th of July briefing because he would not have known that he's a quote unquote contact agent. He also distances himself from the police minister Nkunu, even though his messages paint a different picture because they seem to have interactions about certain events and about certain individuals that hold certain contracts with himself. And it begs the question, why are you so interested in this information and relaying it to a particular minister if he's just a distant comrade? What would be the interest in providing him with all this different information and, of course, sending screenshots of your interactions with him to Vusimuzi Cat Matala? He also then changes the, I guess, the narrative or attempts to change the narrative by stating that the alleged bribe took place with respect to General Fani Masemola, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, etc., instead of the allegations that we're hearing through the recording that Witness C provided to the commission, where Vusimuzi Masala states himself, from his own words, that he was making these monetary payments in order to satisfy or safeguard his contract with SAP, because he believed this particular individual was in close proximity with the minister. So I think in this time that he is probably consolidating his evidence at 2 o'clock, he's going to have to make it make sense, because right now it raises more questions than satisfies the kind of inquiry that this commission is trying to make regarding his proximity to these individuals and what exactly he was trying to achieve with his interactions.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for that update. That's Kenny Mapanga of SABC News reporting extensively on the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry as we go into day 2 of hearing from Brown Mokgotsi, agent, extraordinaire, contact agent, he says.
Summer's here, and with FlySafair now flying between Lanseria, East London and PE from just 770 Rand, you can make any of these 3 holiday hotspots your go-to this festive season. From sun-soaked beaches to buzzing city breaks, FlySafair has you all set for the holidays, wherever the adventure takes you. So pack your sunnies, pick your playground, and fly into summer. Book now at flysafair.co.za. FlySafair, for the life of flying. T's and C's apply.
Reigning champions, the Reds, believe a win at Anfield always brings great euphoria to their fanatics.
And he finds a cross. He's down to Ekitike, and Kirkes has given Liverpool a lifeline. His first Liverpool goal, and it could be vital just before the break.
While the Trick-or-Treats are searching for a top-of-the-range strategy to defeat the Reds.
Driven in by Nico Williams. Well, it may have taken Liverpool 95 minutes to break Burnley down.
This is the Premier League. Witness the thrilling contest between Liverpool FC versus Nottingham Forest on Saturday, 22 November at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
22 minutes after 7. So there's a theme we thought we'd tease out as we were watching that Madlanga Commission of Inquiry testimony of Brown Mokgotsi. raising profound questions about the integrity of the country's policing and security institutions. At the center of the question we are raising and theme that we are raising is the Mogotsi's self-described undercover work, whose account exposes a troubling pattern. Individuals like him appearing to access state security documents, intelligence briefings, and operational methods with relative ease, including sensitive crime intelligence material on figures such as Vusumuzi Ketmatlala. Let's rope in Dr. Chris de Kock, a criminologist of long standing. Good morning and thank you for your time, Doc. Just when we watch, I don't know how much of that testimony you were able to watch, the levels of detail to which someone like Brown Mogotsi goes in describing how one enters the intelligence community, certainly within crime intelligence, what are some of the methodologies of building trust and how you present yourself to create an impression and how it all works. What does it say about the ease with which people can have access to this kind of knowledge? Because it's either he really is an agent or he's an outsider who really knows a lot about this world.
Good morning first to you and the listeners. And then I want to start with my first sentence to say, yeah, all of these are still just allegations.
Sure.
But I think you are right. He should either be an agent to know all of these things. And I think under cross-examination today, we will hear more. Or he must be an outside person who would have all of these knowledge. And then how you become an agent, how you have a legend, all of those stuff that he told. But I think even by late yesterday afternoon, even before cross-examination, which was somewhere today, he became tired. I think he made quite a lot of mistakes. And then also, I mean, he referred to the fact that right at the beginning when he was still fresh, that he started to break down the characters of General Kumalu and General Mangwanazi. When he started there, he started with this thing of CIA agent. That General Mangwanazi is long known as a CIA agent, and that was the reason why he was fired as acting national commissioner. A lot of nods. Actually, the minister, the late minister, said to us, couldn't fire the national commissioner. As the minister of they can't fire the national commissioner.
Yeah.
The national commissioner is appointed as the president. So it must have been President Zuma who fired Mangwanazi, but Mangwanazi wasn't fired. He was just removed as the acting national commissioner because he didn't want to play in the hands of the powers to be at that time. He didn't listen to them. So he was just removed and he sat at home for nearly a year, according to his own evidence. And then he was deployed somewhere else.
Yeah.
So even there, I think I see some holes in these so-called facts.
But Doc, this is all very fascinating, especially for people like us who are outsiders to the intelligence world. But in terms of practice and how things turn out in this country, is there something to be said for various layers of operators, from people known as information peddlers to informants that are formally recruited? Are there gaps there that are being exploited such that there's this ease of documents passing between individuals, including individuals who shouldn't have access to these documents? I mean, a person going as far as to describe that the file I'm talking about is blue in color.
Yeah, well, look, I still say that these are allegations. I mean, what I think what could have happened here is that to cover themselves, the so-called bad guys, if you can call it bad and good guys, say that good guys is we all think at this stage is Mangwanazi and Kumalu, and now they have given their evidence, and a lot of people have given evidence both the commission. And I think that we will now hear these so-called bad guys, the guys who were shown as linked to the underworld and so on, will come with a story which is directly opposite of the story that was given up to now for the last 2 months. And I think I don't think we should worry too much about, I mean, this can be a story, if I can put it like that.
Yeah.
And it can be a legend because he refers right at the beginning, and I think maybe he was an undercover agent, and then and either went rogue or he then were moved out of the agency. But the fact of the matter is, he refers to a legend. Now, I think they created the legend, possibility. Let's make it like that. The possibility that they created a legend which is the opposite side of the coin. If I can put it like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think I think in real world, I think agents have a place. You can't address organized crime without crime intelligence, without agents, and without informants.
All right. Let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time, Dr. Chris de Kock, criminologist, weighing in on some of the testimony we have seen coming through from Brown Mokhotsi at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning. Let's start with rugby, where Springbok assistant coach Mzwandile Stick says the team is losing players to inconsistent officiating after Lua Diaga's 4-match suspension and Franco Mostad's red card against Italy. South Africa Rugby and the squad, they are appealing the one verdict while Mostad faces his own hearing this week. Stick says the staff is frustrated, and head coach Rassie Erasmus adding that 20 out of 21 contentious calls went against South Africa in the first half in Turin. Let's take a listen.
A very nice, beautiful game of rugby to watch. Italy, they deserve the respect, and I felt like, they had everything in their powers to control the game. So for other people to get involved, and I feel for the ref because we understood the communication that was happening between him and his team outside him. Probably about 21 decisions that were supposed to be made in the first half. Probably first 45 minutes, 20 of them went against us. Not because of the ref. Unfortunately, he has to respect the comms from his team outside. So yeah, disappointed at it, but once again, I feel for Italy, and I would like to apologize how things turned out, because they've got a good coaching staff, and then their players also work up for the game. But for other things to happen like that, I don't think they deserve what they got in that game.
Still with rugby, Springbok powerhouse Oxen Chair has made history, becoming the first prop ever nominated for the World Rugby Player of the Year award. He joins teammates Peter Steph du Toit and Malcolm Marx, along with France's Louis Bilbiere. Hookers have been featured before, but never a prop, and Ox definitely breaking scrums and ceilings there. Let's go to the soccer action, where Wales winger Josh Adams has been suspended. That's for 3 matches after his yellow card against Japan, and that was upgraded to a red for a dangerous clear out. He'll miss clashes against New Zealand and South Africa, as well as the Cardiff's EPCR Challenge Cup tie against Stade Francais. From there, we head to the soccer news. Kieran Tierney and Kenny McLean were stoppage time heroes in a dramatic 4-2 win over Denmark. And that's for Scotland after successive Euro appearances. Steve Clarke now leads Scotland back to football's biggest stage for the first time since 1998. And that's your sport. We will leave it there for now on the morning brief. Look out for more. Top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, Chief of Staff in the Police Ministry, Cedric Nkabinde, is back again before the ad hoc committee today. The committee is probing allegations made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the justice system. National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Batoy, is expected to testify at the Nkabinde inquiry today following a delay. She was scheduled to have testified yesterday. And the city of Johannesburg has clarified what it terms misinformation surrounding the removal of a banner by civic group Solidarity along the M1 motorway. The city says the banner was set up unlawfully and in contravention of the city's bylaws. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. Motorists driving into Pretoria being held out quite badly on the N4. This is the Emalafleni Highway. There's roadworks that have popped up at the N1 Highway, surprising everybody. Heavy queues on that N4 towards Pretoria, back through Watermeyer, back through Rousseau, and back towards Simon Vermuten. That's heavy. Lights are out on Gazina, Stibiko onto Johan Haynes. Heavy backlogs getting through that Gazina area without the assistance of traffic lights. And a truck fire incident on the N12 eastbound, just by the R24 airport split. Very heavy getting through Galulis on the N3 north, quite bad getting on the N3 south from Edenvale into Galulis, and everybody coming in from Ekurhuleni having a look at N12 and R24 routes into Galulis from the east side, heavy backlogs as well. Durban really busy this morning, N2 going north, an earlier crash at near Adams Road in Amansam Toti. Traffic is starting to move through there a bit better. There is a crash on the southern freeway, the M4 before the M7. That's a heavy backlog coming up through Jacobs and Clarewood into that Rossborough area. Broken down vehicle on the N2 south at Spaghetti Junction, heavy backlog through to Inanda Road. Really bad coming through Pinetown this morning. Stationary vehicle just past Paradise Valley. It's on the N3 to Durban. So the M13 out of Pinetown to Paradise Valley and the N3 inbound, both heavily backed up as a result of that. Cape Town, no traffic lights on the N2 at On Vivek Road out in Somerset West. So extra delays to work through there. The M1 inbound from Belleville solid all the way through to Kuberg Interchange. And behind that, the R300 is quite a heavy jam this morning, queuing from Delft up through Cales River all the way to the N1 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning once again to Ndauling. Good morning to you, Ndauling. Let's start with news to do with Pepco and their plans around entering the banking sector. I'm trying to see if we've got Ndauling. No, we seem to be struggling a little bit with Ndauling. She's got an update on Pepco and just the thinking around Pepco and the possibility of growing within the banking sector. In fact, now we do have Ndauling. Good morning to you, Ndauling. Yesterday we heard the word mabarebare, rumor. Mabarebare. Rumor has it there's something in the works for Pepco as far as growth in the banking sector is concerned, yeah?
And this is according to sources that Bloomberg Plus Pepco seems to be exploring the launch of a zero-fee banking service that would operate inside its local network. Now, the venture is expected to be called Pep Bank and would use the more than 6,000 stores to reach customers who regularly shop at Pep and its other discount brands. The retailer is in discussions of Investec as a potential partner, noting that no final agreement has been reached. If the partnership proceeds, Pepco and Investec would share profits from the new banking operation. Investec has been looking for new income streams as economic growth in SA remains, has been expanding its business banking and payments offerings. Pepco has been increasing focus on financial services. Many local retailers already offer basic financial services, and Pep would extend Pepco to this area. Both parties rumored to be in deal-making activity, but declined to comment.
Yeah. Sticking with banking, the leaders in that sector are calling out the ratings, what they call ratings prejudice, yeah, as it relates in particular to the African continent.
That's right, Sulas. Now, African banking leaders are warning that long-standing perceptions of risk rather than actual economic data are inflating borrowing costs for the continent and limiting growth. Speaking at the Bloomberg Africa Business Summit, the bank CEO Simtabalala said African sovereigns are routinely rated lower than peers with similar fundamentals. Gap, he said, subtract about 2 percentage points Africa's GDP. Now, the Africa Finance Group has described this misalignment as a prejudice premium, estimating that governments pay up to $75 billion a year in additional debt service costs. Kabalala said many African countries are about 4 notches below where their credit metrics suggest they should be. Now, this perception gap does not only affect governments. You and I are also affected because when countries are rated lower, commercial banks face higher funding costs of their own, makes lending to SMEs and entrepreneurs more expensive and more restrictive, really a challenge in economies where small businesses are seen as catalysts for growth and employment.
Lastly, Dowling, how are we looking on the markets at this hour?
Starting in Asia, the sell-off appears to be slowing, with some indices being green. China's Shanghai Composite just managed to hit positive territory, up 0.0%. Caution is still the name of the game, though, as traders look to Nvidia's third quarter earnings amid growing concerns about an AI bubble, and that uncertainty is moving into US futures in the red. Back home, local markets extended their losses in line with global sentiment. The JSE All Share sliding 1.7% yesterday's session. Oil is also joining in on the sour mood, with Brent slipping below $65 a barrel on risk of trade. Meanwhile, the rand is holding up reasonably well, business coming through, but still fairly stable. 17.
So, as a parting shot, let me surprise you with some wisdom, courtesy of one Selailo Seluta. We were talking about Mabare Bare earlier on. He's got a song
Yes.
that says, "Utlaba wa ikgwetša ka mathateng ka mabare Ska ikgwetša mathateng ka mabare. Okay. All right, Ntauling, we'll talk a bit later. And Ntauling Lichela there. We're just playing on that whole idea of rumors, because part of what happened yesterday was Brown Mokgotsi in the testimony had to admit at some point that what he was saying was rumors. And they used that expression that said, it's mabare bare.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
SAFM, in partnership with the Luthuli Museum, bring you the 19th annual Chief Albert Luthuli Memorial Lecture, which will be delivered by the Director General of the World Trade Organization, WTO, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, on Thursday, the 20th of November, 2025, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. The theme for this year's lecture will be reflecting on the work of the World Trade Organization and its global impact. The lecture will be live on the Luthuli Museum Facebook page and the Luthuli Museum and University of KwaZulu-Natal YouTube platforms. Tune in to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, coming to you from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, bringing you the lecture live on SAFM. The annual Luthuli Memorial Lecture is a partnership event between the Luthuli Museum, Luthuli Foundation, Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, and the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let's go straight to your calls. Let me start with Lord in Alberton. Good morning to you, Lord.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Very well. Please go ahead, sir.
Good, my brother. Congratulations for your nomination of the
Oh,
president.
yes. Oh, thank you.
Especially yourself, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, it's fine. I want to talk about the ANC issues or matters this morning, quickly. Since there are talks in the circles of the NEC that there are those who want them to be pushed away. Yes. But people say about nothing away, like the Chinese saying as our SD around 95, 96. The African National Congress what essential the dwindling of our sport, be it in the membership on the in the electoral side. So the NBC that is coming during the December month next side is not meant to push Ramaphosa away. It is only meant to report on the progress ANC, which has been elected, the
Mhm.
challenges in the system.
Yeah.
And that was just my last point. Those who are agitating for his exit or his premature exit, we should galvanize the lobby for 2027 for those leaders whom they can lead to nation forward. That is my
Lord,
take.
yeah, Lord, thank you for that. That's Lord Altin Alberton. But of course, that's the formal structure and the purpose of the National General Council. But things haven't quite been the same since the 2005 NGC, have they? Because since then, I think it has become clear that whenever there's that National General Council, it does become a staging moment for various interests within the ANC to start, at the very least, signaling what their thinking is about the way forward. But Lord, urging caution and circumspection for members of the ANC around those processes. Khotso in Midrand, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Thulasizwe.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, look, regarding Khotso's yesterday,
Yes, special agent.
the special agent,
Yeah.
No. Partly, you need to be very careful
Yeah.
because such kind of people don't just because you have already took a certain posture.
Yeah.
Go with this faction or the other faction.
Yes.
You need to be very careful because he kept on telling your Madanga in that group to say this is a very complex well. You need to be very, very, very careful when you deal with this well. Because when after he said that Panazi and the Zulu King, that they were part of the CIA agent, it might be true, it might be false. But the reality is that we all know that the Ingonyama Trust has been sold to the highest bidder. All Zulus knows. And this is a very, very contentious issue there in the Zulu monarch. Even now, the Zulu, some of the battles centered around that Ingonyama Trust.
Mhm.
He knows. The second part where Matanga said, because I also studied in US, my dear agent, yes, it might happen. It's true.
Yeah.
Most of the guys who have studied there,
Uh-huh.
they know there's a secret clause which they signed to say now when will come to a country
Jeez.
and visit your country.
No,
When you
Khotso,
visit
I
your
don't
country,
know if I agree with you though. Hey, I think the bar would be so lowered for a person to qualify as an agent of the United States, and I think Justice Madlanga was making that comment tongue in cheek to say, "I studied in the U.S. Are you now saying that I'm also an agent of?" We've got to say more other than you studied somewhere in the United States, and therefore you are likely an agent of the U.S.
exactly. No, not Matanga per se,
Yes.
but some of the people who studied.
Yeah.
Moving forward, when they started to reveal that we are able even to use your number, while you are sitting during the day, your number, you will see your number has been swap.
Yeah.
Only to find that we take your number, we use your number. Next thing, by the time you arrive there at Vodacom or MTN, we give you back the number. They were all shaking, all of them.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to show them it's a very, very complex world.
Gotcha.
Besides that, they are also agents. The journalists who are agents.
Yeah.
The leaders who are free. Well, no.
No, Khotso. No, Khotso, you are doing so well. But accusing a person without
Okay,
any
it's fine.
substantiation
Because I
is
offend,
really
it's fine.
no,
It's fine.
no,
It's
no,
fine.
no,
It's fine.
no. You're not
It's
gonna go away. You're gonna stay, and you and I are going to agree on what's wrong with what you did. What's wrong with
Okay.
what you did is, if I say to you, substantiate the claim you are making against Mzilegas, where's the substantiation?
Yeah, no, look,
Where?
Mkhwanazi, when Mkhwanazi,
No,
when
where is
Mkhwanazi
the
was there,
no,
was there.
no,
Where-
not Mkhwanazi. Where is the substantiation for the claim you are making unfairly against a person on the radio in the morning? You were doing well, Khotso.
Listen to Mkhwanazi. Listen to Mkhwanazi.
Did Mkhwanazi say?
Yeah, he said, look, Mkhwanazi said the
Yes, because he works as sources.
Where
Does that make him an agent of intelligence?
the likely who? The likely who?
All right.
Complex world.
Okay,
It's a
Khotso, I've heard
complex
you.
world.
I've heard you. Thank you for that, and I appreciate what you're saying about the complexity of this world. Khotso in Midrand. Who else do we still have? All right, I think let's go to, I don't know who we have. Let's take a few of your voice notes. A lot of people reflecting on the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry and Brown Mokhotsi.
Good morning, Abusheni Tulas. Abusheni, hope and trust you are well. The commission, I'm looking forward to second day of Mukosi testimony. Wow, so interesting, man. So interesting. The Mukwanazi and the King CIA issue in America. There's a lot going to come out of this commission, I'm telling you. But at the end of the day, who is telling the truth? Reverend Adam Manganye in Musina, signing off. Amen.
Good morning to you. There's the issue of Brown Pussy and Miridas. Those are not big sure. What Miridas is the female version of Brown Pussy. Things that they are saying, they don't make sense. They don't make sense. And I don't know if Brown Pussy is aware that it's under oath. But things he's saying is not true. Like, it's all over the place, man. All over the place. Mabaraba.
Mabarebar. That's the word of the day, the word of the moment. Mabarebar. Richard in East London, good morning. Don't go there. Leave the rumors aside.
No, and this guy Mokoko has given, he knows his shoulder deep into the wrongdoing. Now he's sacrificing himself, but he's corner because they now seem to be manufacturing a direct response as the analyst consulted with me. They are now trying to manufacture a direct response, and part of it is to ignite emotion in the country. The fact that you're using CIA, the fact that you're using the Zulu thing, bringing the Zulu thing into, you are attempting to cause peace in the country. And this is really serious. You must now, I'm going to tell you something that he is not the one in the country, not the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving you with this one.
Yeah.
Don't wonder why democracy is quiet, dead quiet, on all these commissions, their participation and their performance. Don't wonder why. Because they know that they are involved. You must go to the KZN and look into his security. Yes, say and his second that who is there. You must go into and see who is working with police.
All right.
So this thing is big, and they are going to try and manage it
the
best way they can.
All right. Richard, thank you for that. That's Richard in East London. Tando, if you don't mind, let me just take you very quickly, about a minute or so. The SAFM lecture is on your mind this morning.
Yeah, there's something that is actually irritating. Why are you guys promoting this lecture? What else? What's something new she's going to say? Well, these people, they keep on happening on the screen. So, nothing changes. Inequality, I mean, into space agent, spending about 2 million. For what? And then he can't even manage his finances. So much money. Don't take spaces. Don't make, gestures of strength. No, we can't be accepting this much money because a lot of people are graduates are out of work. People are, sleep hungry. They wake up hungry.
Let me ask
These
you.
people, they spend so much money.
Yes, I hear you. Let me ask you, if we don't do intellectual engagements and we don't engage with each other and put specific issues under the spotlight such that you tease it out and sketch out what the problem is, and then you come up with your suggested solutions, and then there's an audience that is listening and engages with your solutions in the manner that you and I are doing this morning, where will solutions come from if we don't do that? If we kill the intellectual culture, what happens?
Yeah, perhaps if it were people from the NGO sector that actually even,
Yes, maybe next year it will be delivered by some. Maybe next year it will be someone from the NGO sector.
Yeah, maybe someone from Dudula or someone from
Who knows?
those guys in protecting
I hear
the
you.
coastline from Shell.
Yeah.
Because we can't be listening to these people because that's what
Gotcha.
they are. And more
All right.
harm this is.
Gotcha. Tando, thank you for that. But I think you and I can agree that there's value in not killing the intellectual culture. Allow it to thrive. Let the perspectives that you don't like also come to the fore so that you can engage with them. And in that friction, as I always say, in that friction, we produce forward movement. That really is the point of projects such as the SAFM lecture.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heavy backlogs in Pretoria this morning coming through from Mamelodi. There's some surprise roadworks. That's what we call it when there's no notification and they just pop up and they pop up at rush hour. It's a real surprise. So it makes sense, doesn't it? The roadworks, N4 inbound, just by the N1. It's a heavy queue of traffic parked all the way back through to Rousseau Street. A lot of pressure at Watermeer as motorists try to come off and head down to sort of Linwood Road, I guess. And Linwood Road coming in from the east quite heavy with traffic that doesn't even want to get into the N4. So one set of roadworks and a multi-impact sort of effect. Just staying in Pretoria, Solomon Mishlangu out of Mamelodi down towards the N4, heading to Silver Lakes. Can be asked to queue up there. David from Attridgeville says absolute gridlock getting out of Attridgeville this morning. An operation there causing some major problems. Joburg, this truck fire from earlier this morning on the N12 East, just by the R24 airport split. It is heavy through Galilees. N3 from Germiston, Alberton going north. N3 from Edenvale going south. Big backlogs through Galilees because of that incident. N12 and R24 is coming east, quite heavy as well. Just want to spend a moment with you on the OR Tambo International Airport situation. There are restrictions around the airport from now right through the weekend. Traffic restrictions and closures in place around the existing drop-off and pick-up areas. The arrivals road is closed. The short-term parking, you might know that as the Piazza, that is closed. New arrangements are operating from Parkade 2, and we would say allow extra time for travel into the airport. You know what it's like when you're not really sure where to go. Maybe the signage is a bit confusing. You've got to drop someone off on time for a flight connection. So you don't want to hit those sort of panic stations over the next few days. Just give yourself extra time. Arrive early is the call there. Durban, N2 South, still with a stationary vehicle at Spaghetti Junction. Heavy backlogs from Inanda Road this morning. And Cape Town, all the crash scenes on the M1 inbound at Belleville, they've all been cleared up. Baden-Powell Drive remains closed at Monwa, BC. So factor in some queues and traffic lights out. N2 at Onvavuk, slowing traffic that side of Somerset West Gordons Bay. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Summer's here, and with FlySafair now flying between Lanseria, East London and PE from just 770 Rand, you can make any of these 3 holiday hotspots your go-to this festive season. From sun-soaked beaches to buzzing city breaks, FlySafair has you all set for the holidays, wherever the adventure takes you. So pack your sunnies, pick your playground, and fly into summer. Book now at flysafair.co.za. FlySafair, for the life of flying. T's and C's apply.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
All right, as you know, the country is hosting the G20 Leaders Summit in about 3 days. And as we prepare for that, a powerful counter space for global dialogue and public participation is taking shape at Constitution Hill. From 20 to 22 November, civil society organizations, labor unions, academics, grassroots movements, and artists from more than 40 countries will gather for the People's Summit for Global Economic Justice. It's organized under the banner, We, the 99%. The summit aims to forge people-centered economic alternatives that place justice, dignity, and sustainability at the heart of global governance. Let's speak to Jenny Ricks, who is the General Secretary of the Fight Inequality Alliance. Good morning to you, Jenny, and thank you for your time. The framing of this summit, the People's Summit, suggests that there's something lacking in the current structures and methodologies of groupings such as the G20. Is it your critique that they don't place justice, dignity, and sustainability at the heart of global governance?
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me. Yeah, I think that is the critique. I think that people have recognized that the system that we have, the economic system, the one that kind of dictates a lot of what happens in our everyday lives, isn't working for the majority of the people. And the levels of inequality that people are experiencing, your cost of living crisis, the lack of jobs, those things that people are struggling with are driven. Some of them are driven by the current economic system. And when we look at on the international level, on the global level, that those structures that we have in place, those groupings don't work in transforming things in the way that people want and the way that people need. So actually having the G20 come to town here in South Africa, it's a moment, it's a call for us to reimagine that system. We have an opportunity to construct something different when so many people recognize that what we currently have is failing the 99%. Let's construct something new. Let's think about that.
So what's your sense then of South Africa's presidency of the G20 and how it's been able or otherwise to center those issues under that theme of equality, solidarity, and sustainability?
I mean, I think most people recognize that what we've got and what's being discussed is, in a way, trying to reorder things within the current system. So it's not that big issues like the need to tax the richest, the need to cancel the debt that are choking the spending on public services in so many countries across Africa and the global south, and the need to tackle climate change. It's not that those things haven't been mentioned. It's not that in some way they're not on the agenda. It's just that people are not seeing action. We're not seeing the bold solutions that we want. So I think, having a People Summit, having coming together under the banner of We the 99 allows us to put forward kind of bolder solutions. So not have to stay so anchored within small changes, maybe tiny things that can be negotiated within the current structures. Let's think about what we really need and what people really want instead.
So what's the conversation? How is it shaping up as part of the We the 99, as well as that the People's Festival that will come up after that? What if you're saying it's not small tweaks that we need, it's a systemic change? What are some of the key propositions that are coming through?
I think the things that have coming through so far, and bearing in mind we've had people's assemblies and other organizing sort of activities in about 30 countries across the global south that are leading into this People's Summit. So it's coming out of a lot of thinking, a lot of lived experience of people. The big sort of structural issues that people want to see at a global level, ones that would really help transform the economy we live in, is those taxes on the richest, taxing wealth in every country, and a mechanism at the international level. We've seen the richest 1% have taken over 40% of all the new wealth that's been created since the year 2000, while the bottom 50% of humanity has got just 1% of that, right? And we need to see cancellation of the debt. We need it cancelled, not management systems for debt, shuffling the papers around. It's those big level solutions that people want to see. Right. And those will come through the 3 days, culminating in a huge festival. So come down and join us at Constitution Hill if you're in Johannesburg.
All right, thank you for that. That's Jenny Ricks, who is General Secretary of the Fight Inequality Alliance. Let's go to Ann Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Mkunu's Chief of Staff again appearing before the ad hoc committee. And IDC commits to powering African industrial drive. Good morning. Chief of Staff in the Police Ministry, Cedric Nkabinde, is back before the ADA committee today. The committee is probing allegations made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the justice system. Nkabinde was sent packing last week after he admitted that he thumbsucked some of his testimony relating to Police Minister Senzo Mchunu and the Northwest businessman Brown Mukhodzi. Committee Chairperson Mulapi Likhanyane elaborates.
Mr. Cedric Nkabinde will come back. The proceedings are at Good Hope Chambers. And then the head of retirement at the SAPS, Lieutenant General Rafani, will be coming on Thursday. So there was also another proposal that General Musikidi must come on Friday.
National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Batoy, is now expected to testify today at the Nkabinde inquiry in Pretoria. The delayed list of targeted witnesses by the NPA led to the rescheduling of a testimony. She was scheduled to have testified yesterday. This was due to outstanding documents and authorization of NPA officials to testify on behalf of the suspended South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Andrew Chauke. He is appearing before the inquiry probing his fitness to hold office. The NPA's evidence leader, Advocate David Muhlomanyane, has assured the inquiry that they will abide by the judge's order to avoid further delays.
We've already made contact with one or two of them, but I still have to make contact with some of them. One of them is in KZN. I still have to call him to talk to him.
Thank you. I don't want to belay the point, and this inquiry should not be delayed, and I'll emphasize it again and again, that let's make sure that we are on track, at least towards the festive season. Around Christmas time, we should have made progress because we started 1.5 months late.
I take your point, Madam Chair. I take your point.
The ANC-NEC has called on members of the executive to lead the charge in submitting themselves to lifestyle audits, starting with the president. This was one of the resolutions taken at last weekend's meeting of the party's top leadership. The call comes in the wake of efforts to renew the organization and government as a whole. ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula.
The president leading the executive must start ensuring that lifestyle audits apply across in the civil service. But you cannot enforce a lifestyle audit in a department if you are a political leader and yet yourself you have not undergone lifestyle audits. So for us as the ANC, lifestyle audits start with the president and all cabinet, and at the same time in all the provinces. This must be undertaken.
The City of Johannesburg has clarified what it terms misinformation surrounding the removal of a banner by civic group Solidarity along the M1 motorway. The city says the banner was set up unlawfully and in contravention of the city's bylaws. The city has denied that the decision to remove the banner was due to the upcoming G20 Leaders Summit. Kensani Chauke reports.
The City of Johannesburg says, in terms of the 2009 outdoor advertising bylaws, any party seeking to erect, install or display outdoor advertising sign on city-owned property must make an application and obtain formal approval from the city. However, no such application was submitted in relation to the banner in question. Solidarity approached the High Court seeking the banner's reinstatement, but has since withdrawn the matter. The City of Joburg says it has offered to return the banner to Solidarity in condition that it is not reinstalled anywhere in the city until Solidarity comply with the applicable bylaws.
And finally, Chairperson of the Industrial Development Corporation, Gloria Sirobe, has emphasized that the state-owned development funder remains committed to accelerating industrialization across the African continent. She emphasized that driving structural transformation from primary production to value-added manufacturing is an important element of the IDC's continental strategy. She was addressing the G20 Chief Executives Working Dinner in Sandton.
We aim to build competitive regional value chains in sectors such as energy, agro-processing, automotive, and green technologies, creating jobs, driving innovation, and ensuring Africa's voice is strong in global markets. We believe that Africa's prosperity will be driven by collaboration between governments, business leaders, and development institutions.
Recapping the top story, Chief of Staff in the Police Ministry, Cedric Nkabinde, is back before the ADA committee today. The committee is probing allegations made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the justice system. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Now, this is a real Black Friday deal. Get a car insurance quote from Outsurance today, and if they can't beat what you are currently paying, ask them for 500 Rand cash. Make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. You could get monthly premium savings or at least 500 Rand cash. You've got nothing to lose. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports Headlines, rugby, Springbok scrum half Grant Williams says Ireland's Jamison Gibson Park is basically a chess master in rugby boots. And in soccer news, we'll also bring you the story of AmaZulu, who are poised to capitalize as Golden Arrows are slapped with a FIFA transfer ban. Details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Here's the big ones around the country. The N4 into Victoria, solid this morning. Roadworks at the N1 highway. If you're driving in from Simon Vermuten, just up ahead through Rousseau and Watermay, it's all very heavy. Truck fire at Galuli's. N12 east is restricted, getting out towards the airport exit. Behind that, the N3 heavy from Germiston, Alberton going north and south from Edenvale. A big mess through Galuli's today. Truck crash at Town Hill. Major delay alerts coming through from Sudara Hilton. A lot of trucks being stacked up. A lot of diversion action. If you're driving Howick into Petermaritzburg, it is one to worth avoid at this stage. Rather, travel later if possible. Durban's N2 still queuing at the Spaghetti Junction. A breakdown and a crash on the M4 near the M7, slowing traffic through Jacobs Clarewood on your way to Durban. Also, Tweedy Hill coming off Todi into Isipingo remains heavy. Cape Town, big pressure on the N2 out of town at Victoria Street and Somerset West. Then further out, no lights at Onverwacht on the N2, so some delays there. And the N1 looking solid today from Belleville all the way through to the city centre. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 minutes after 8, welcome to the third hour of the Morning Brief on this Wednesday. It is great to be in your company. As I always do at the start of this hour, I always reflect on some of what you are saying. And there's some interesting takes on the whole debate around Brown Mokhotzi's testimony as well as Mary DeHaas's testimony. Some interesting takes coming through on the WhatsApp line. So I want to get straight to that. So someone here says, so how is it that everything that Mkhwanazi says is gospel truth, but anyone else who says different gets ridiculed and belittled? Look at how you treat Mokhotzi's agent claims and how those parliamentarians treated DeHaas, asks this person. The message is not signed off. Just on Mokhotzi and the claims of being an agent, there are a couple of questions. I'm not, and I don't know about other people, but I'm not saying he's not an agent. I'm not saying that's impossible. No. Who am I to say that? How do I know how they recruit agents into the various intelligence agencies? But there are questions, aren't there? At some point, this whole saying "mabare bare" came from him, not from anyone else. When the commissioners were asking him, so what you are telling us, you are saying you heard from someone, and basically it's hearsay upon hearsay. He admitted and said, yes, It is mabarebare. That's one element. But also, wouldn't you think that ahead of an agent unmasking themselves so publicly? I know that it's a commission of inquiry, so therefore, if they need to go there, they will go there. But usually there are procedures, man. They will just start explaining that, the next witness is involved in the security cluster, in intelligence, and therefore perhaps some arrangements can be made. We got to know the name of the person who is Brown Mokhotse's handler. The only person we don't know is the co-handler, but the handler was named. Methodologies, legend, creating a legend. Yesterday when I woke up, I didn't even know there was such a thing. Now I know about it. I think that's partly why people are making the kind of commentary that they are making. I think that's what I'd like to believe. It's not to say that there's no possibility that he is an agent. He possibly could be, for all I know. And then someone else here says, if the Haas was against the disbandment of the PKTT, she was not going to be blamed and ridiculed. But since she is in favor of Mkunu's decision, she's seen as a joke. For goodness sake, she's a researcher and an activist at the same time. She has a right to participate in such affairs and comment. She should not be blamed for Mkunu's decisions as if she's an advisor, says Aaron, weighing in on that. Part of it there, Aaron, is that the part of the explanation by Minister Senzo Mkunu himself was that among the people that he listened to were Mary de Haas. So therefore, MPs are correct in going to the source to say, you are saying you received complaints from various people about the work of the PKTT, people including Mary de Haas, who's done the work. Therefore, let's go to the source and hear from the source directly. I think that's part of the reason why she's being quizzed in the way that happened yesterday. Mr. MF says, good morning, SAFM. Mokhotsi is cornering himself dangerously with lies. Our intelligence, if they use people like him, will never crack any case in this country, says Mr. MF. And then lastly, let me read this one. It has to do with, is it Colonel Kilebohile Tepa, Lieutenant Colonel? Apologies if I demote or promote her in terms of the title. This person says, I'm happy that Tipa got her job back. What is happening in Eguruleni is the results of ANC deployment strategy. You will be pushed out to give space for their members, says that person, giving commentary to that situation. The head of the spokesperson of the Eguruleni Metro Police Department recently reinstated to that position as the media unit, we are told, has now been reinstated after the testimony that she delivered at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. All right, that's how it's looking. Let's keep the conversation going. The number to dial 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The third hour of the morning brief.
Summer's here, and with FlySafe Air now flying between Lanseria, East London and PE from just 770 Rand, you can make any of these 3 holiday hotspots your go-to this festive season. From sun-soaked beaches to buzzing city breaks, FlySafe Air has you all set for the holidays, wherever the adventure takes you. So pack your sunnies, pick your playground, and fly into summer. Book now at flysafeair.co.za. FlySafe Air, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
When love turns to hate and hate turns to violence, the truth is never simple. In Love and Hate Crime Season 2, real stories expose the dark side of human emotion, where identity, passion, and prejudice collide. Powerful, unflinching, unforgettable. These are the crimes that challenge what we think we know about love and humanity. Thursdays at 10 p.m. only on S3. S3. Open up. Yes.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the morning brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
16 minutes after 8. Let's take you to this story that we wanted to bring you yesterday, but we just couldn't make it happen yesterday. Working to earn just enough money to afford transport fare to get back to work. It's called transport poverty, and a new report suggests that it's particularly pronounced in Gauteng. transport costs for low-income households in Johannesburg have reached a breaking point, with new research showing that many residents, especially those living far from the city's economic hubs, are spending nearly half of their income just to commute. A new Gauteng City Region Observatory report reveals that Johannesburg's poorest residents are paying disproportionately high transport costs, driven by long distances to job centers and limited public transport integration. Let's speak to Dr. Lavan Naidu, who is a senior researcher at our City News. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So, the recommendation we understand is that on average, a household should spend no more than 10% of their income on transport. But this report tells us that the picture is quite different for many of the residents in Johannesburg and in Gauteng in general.
All right, Thulasizwe and the viewers, thanks a lot for having me. Yes, that's actually correct. Based on the results we got, we're actually seeing that it actually is close to 50%, and even more for some areas and some wards, particularly along the periphery of Gauteng, that actually spend a proportion in transport expenses. So it's quite dire and different.
What does the study tell us about the drivers of transport costs as a proportion of household spending?
So the main drivers would definitely be linked with the socioeconomic paradigm, particularly in terms of more money you have, the more money you can actually spend in transportation as well as on other aspects of life. As is more or less linked to what is known as social mobility, which is basically the integration of different race groups of lower socioeconomic conditions and circumstances in richer areas. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened within the legislation, and unfortunately, a lot of people from poor areas are actually traveling greater distances, greater costs and time to get to areas of work. So that is completely the issue here, where there's a disproportionate distance to work. People have to travel large distances to get to these economic nodes to actually get the work and everything done. So definitely.
And what does the study reveal around the issue of integration? Because, you know, most people who commute will use the minibus taxis, and some will tell you the difficulty of having to change taxis 3 times, and sometimes you are going in a direction that has absolutely nothing to do with where you want to ultimately go.
Yeah, well, that's a very, very important question. And it's the actual truth about the matter is that the interconnectivity of the transport network in Gauteng is virtually non-existent. There are different industries and different routes, particularly the buses and transportation from taxis, but they're very much independent in terms of they're not necessarily very strongly linked between one another. So with the result of that is that a lot of the recipients or respondents have to go into the taxis, they stop at a particular random spot, go on to another, probably take another bus, and to do different modes of transport just to get to where we need. Definitely there is, in terms of improvement, optimization of the different industries, integration of the transportation network. And that's definitely an issue that is in practice consistent through time. But yeah, having that discussion right now and talking about it's definitely important to go way forward to kind of get and figure out who is actually being affected in mind. That's generally the poor. So that's what the focus of the study was, kind of aiming to amplify.
Yeah. So for the longest of time, there's been this lament about apartheid era spatial planning being a feature that has carved and shaped the urban landscape, particularly in Gauteng. What's your sense of what's being done or what has been done in recent years with new neighborhoods that have been built? Has that been brought to bear, that you are seeking to roll back that legacy? Has that been showing in the way that new settlements are being planned and rolled out?
Thanks a lot again for that question. Interesting question. Definitely within the context of development of these big security estates, they're still occurring in the periphery, and they're still targeted more or less to people of medium to higher income and wealth. And for the reason of that is that people can actually buy in these very exotic locations, but also travel into work as well. So they have that capacity. But when it comes to low economic households and integration, they're still more or less linked to the peripheral areas as well as an established concept that we see around Gauteng. There are initiatives, particularly within the construction space now, where a lot of these different complexes are being developed with the idea of having mixed class housing in mind. That what definition of that particular term means is that you get different classes and tiers of housing of different prices. And that is a mechanism where government is trying to push basically private contractors like the Baldwin Estates and so forth to encourage that social mobility where people are so at lower economic standards can actually buy into some of these complexes. And a few of these complexes and establishments and estates are being developed within Gauteng, but to see that actual transformation of more or less inclusive housing is yet to be clearly identified.
Yeah, at a transport level, transport policy level, what tweaks and reforms would be needed that would start to make a dent in as far as this is concerned? For instance, our thinking around which modes of transport are subsidized, what levels, and other issues related to that.
Okay, so definitely based on our studies, on research, we actually found that majority of the users in our quality of life survey that we conduct every 2 to 3 years are actually using minibus taxis as the main predominant mode of transport. So when it comes to subsidies, we take an initial tip on the cost. Government should actually focus on these industries in terms of initiating some sort of subsidies or regulations that basically assist the actual customer on the ground to kind of offset the cost within the different different taxi modes. Another aspect as well included I would say the public bus transportation network, like the PATCO and all those other different industries. Additional subsidies can also be integrated there to actually reduce the costs on people. And other aspects, if you're looking at from international perspective, the way that these industries have to cut down costs in terms of transportation is that integration of multimodal transport networks. Have the buses, trains, and the different Ubers are kind of integrated and linked into the different transportation network where people can plan their routes more efficiently, as well as having a single ticket for ticketing sort of system. It can assist people to get from point A to point B at a much reduced cost because all these different sectors and industries are speaking to one another. And there's a level of cost subsidization which can allow different citizens to get across the province in an efficient manner.
All right. Thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That is Dr. Lavan Naidu, who is senior researcher at RCT News.
Summer's here, and with FlySafair now flying between Lanseria, East London and PE from just 770 Rand, you can make any of these 3 holiday hotspots your go-to this festive season. From sun-soaked beaches to buzzing city breaks, FlySafair has you all set for the holidays, wherever the adventure takes you. So pack your sunnies, pick your playground, and fly into summer. Book now at flysafair.co.za. FlySafair, for the life of flying. T's and C's apply.
Is there ever a bad time for a good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right, I do have some time to take 1 or 2 of your voice notes. Let me take these. A lot of you reacting to the testimonies of Brown Mokhotsi and Merite Haas. So let me play them back to back.
But what I like about Mokhotsi is that he's got an answer every question. Doesn't even think, just answers you straight. Whether that answer is correct or wrong, he will answer you. He won't be saying that I'm not sure. Headed by Mkhwanazi's phone call, no. But I think this guy has watched a lot of American movies. I really don't trust his answers. I think his story is just concocted. It's just a concocted story. Reggie from Durban.
Hi, good morning, Thulasizwe and the listeners. Thulasizwe, man, just to come in on what Khotso said about, changing MTN numbers. You go out, you come back, and you have an MTN number. And there's no such. If you've listened to Mokhotsi was referring to WhatsApp. So basically, your number on my WhatsApp is safe as your number, but I can change the names anytime I want to on my phone. So nothing has changed on everybody else's phone. It has changed on my phone because I'm trying to mislead or fool people. There's nothing complex about it. Thanks, Thulasizwe Rudolph, Mpumalanga.
Morning, Mr. Tulas. This is Richard from Vernache. Yeah, hey, Commissions of Inquiry. Mrs. Doc Nerdy has. I think she's all over the place. To me, she doesn't make sense, whatever she's saying. Even Mr. Brown, I think Mr. Brown is trying to untie himself. They are both, they've got the similar thing. They are all over the place. To me, they don't make sense. But we'll see what is happening along the day. Thank you, Mr. Tulas.
All right, thank you for that. It is fascinating testimony that is coming out in both processes, and we are learning a lot. Look at us, eh? Look at us trying to figure out how does this world of intelligence work? How do agents get recruited? How do they gather the information? How do they work sources? How does it all get collated and used in a useful manner? Just trying to analyze what on earth is going on. It can be confounding for us this moment that we're living through.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
It's a very good morning. Let's start with rugby. Springbok scrum half Grant Williams says Ireland's Jamison Gibson Park remains the chess master South Africa must outthink in Dublin this weekend. Gibson Park's tempo and tactical precision have been central to Ireland's rise, but Williams insists the Boks won't be dragged into any revenge narrative after last year's drawn series. He says preparation stays the same. The focus is on execution, not emotion, as South Africa chase a first win in Dublin since 2012. Meanwhile, Ireland centre Robbie Henshaw says the weekend's showdown with the Springboks will be a proper test of where Ireland stand. After a poor start to their November series, Ireland crushed Australia 46-19 last weekend. The Boks arrive in Dublin unbeaten on tour after wins over Japan, France and Italy, and they are aiming for a clean sweep. The SABC Sport can confirm that FIFA has slapped Golden Arrows with a 3-window transfer ban after the club failed to pay striker Knox Mutizwa money owed to him. Arrows reportedly did not honour a settlement agreement with their all-time leading scorer, who left the club in May under still unclear circumstances. Mutizwa is now at Richards Bay, while Arrows cannot sign players for the foreseeable future. And finally, tennis news. 6-time Grand Slam doubles champion Joe Salisbury is taking a break from tennis due to severe anxiety that has worsened on tour. The former world number one says he won't return before April after suffering sustained physical symptoms and a feeling of dread. Salisbury, who completed a US Open hat-trick in 2022, says therapy helped, but a longer reset is needed. And that's your sport. We'll reset for now. We'll bring you more around 12:30 with John Hediker. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the testimony of controversial Northwest businessman Brown Mokgotsi will continue at the Matlanga Commission this afternoon. Mokgotsi, who has been placed at the center of allegations before the Commission, made startling claims during his testimony yesterday. Chief of Staff in the Police Ministry, Cedric Nkabinde, is back before the ad hoc committee today. Nkabinde was sent packing last week after he admitted that he thumbsucked some of his testimony relating to Police Minister Senzo Mchunu and Brown Mokgotsi. And the City of Cape Town's Disaster Risk Management says 141 people have been displaced in a fire that destroyed their dwellings in the Rimfasmark informal settlement. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Galuli's interchange is a proper mess this morning. Got a truck fire incident just through the interchange on the N12 East near the airport split. And we've got a breakdown on the N3 South and amongst all that just by Van Buren. So net result, N3 South badly backed up through from Edenvale down via Galuli's into Bedfordview. Northbound, the queue starts right back on the N12 at Alberton. Elan's interchange all the way up through Bedfordview through to Galuli's. And the N12 and R24 routes coming in from the Ekurhuleni side, having a look at that truck fire incident, all badly backed up as well in towards Galuli's. Pretoria crash on the exit from Montana on Sefaka down towards the N1. That's still quite bad. The N4 roadworks at the N1, slowing traffic from Vartameyer Street and lights out at Gazina. Johan Haynes coming off Steve Biko very slow. Truck crash on your way to Pietermaritzburg from Howick this morning, just around Town Hill. It's a monumental, massive queue of trucks and vehicles all the way back through Hilton and back towards Sadari. You might want to travel a little bit later. Stationary truck going into Pietermaritzburg from Durban before Market Road. That's a heavy queue right back as far as Ashburton. And that stationary truck on the N2 at Spaghetti Junction still there. Queues coming down from Umgeda Road. It's also a breakdown near Mshlanga. So coming through from Sabaya side. There's some extra delays there as well. The N2 South looking heavy at those two locations. Cape Town, M1 into town from Belleville through to the city centres. Heavy N2 from just after the airport. Busy trip through this Wednesday to Hospital Bend. And the closure of Baden-Powell Drive at Monwabisi still with us. A little local diversion in place through the bottom of Khayelitsha. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Ndauling once again. Ndauling, let's talk telecoms. Tell me about Telkom and their data-driven push. You're saying that it's lifted earnings.
That's right, Sulas. That strategy really boosting its first half performance and reinforcing its strong position in the country's prepaid mobile market. Now, Telkom is currently the only telcos operator that continues to post gains in the prepaid market, with the likes of MTN and Vodacom really pointing to struggles here at home. Zooming in on the numbers, mobile service revenue 7.9%, supported by a 26.7% jump in mobile data subscribers, 18.5 million. Data, as mentioned, remains the key growth engine, contributing at just over 59% of total revenue after rising 7.9%. This in turn led to a 16% jump in earnings. Company CEO Serame Taukubong said the results show the strength of Telkom's data-focused strategy, with its mobile unit achieving market-leading service revenue growth for the 11th consecutive quarter. Other units, including OpenServe and BCX, also delivered solid fiber and cloud revenue gains. The group is also cash positive, generating 208 million rand from the sale of 18 non-core properties, with another 12 pending transfer. Moving forward, the group will keep prioritizing revenue growth and cost discipline in the second half as it navigates the weak economy.
In private education, tell me about the regulatory snag that the Cura takeover has hit.
So Yanis Muton's 7.2 billion by Cura delisted and converted into a non-profit was initially expected to slide through approvals, yet it has instead run into resistance from the Competition Commission, which has demanded time for a more intensive review. According to Business Day, the request has caught the merging parties off guard and sparked frustration behind the scenes, given that regulators in Namibia and Botswana cleared the deal without conditions. Cura has already told shareholders that the SA approval must be unconditional or on terms acceptable to the Muton family, signaling little appetite for concessions. Proposed shift of Cura into the public benefit organization, backed by approvals by the SARB and SARS, blurs philanthropy and corporate control in a sector already dominated by Cura, which serves more than 72,000 learners. Now, the Muton Trust the structure would accelerate expansion and reinvestment, positioning Cura to build more schools and extend bursaries. The new developments, the delisting timeline has been pushed back and the review extended by 10 business days.
Lastly, Ndauling, wrap it all nicely for us and tell us the kind of trading day we can expect today.
The local markets likely to stage a bit of a rebound, taking their cue from global peers. It's a big day on the data front with inflation and retail figures ahead of that. Rand is trading a little stronger at 17.15 to the dollar. Fortunes, however, aren't turning in commodities, with oil still under pressure this hour. Brent holding below $65 a barrel. And then back to equities. US futures are in negative territory as all eyes remain on Nvidia's upcoming Q3 earnings report as well as the Fed minutes. Traders in Asia are also watching those closely with trade mixed ahead of the big catch.
All right, Ndauling, thank you very much. That's Ndauling Lechela, having kept you updated with business, economics, and the markets over the last 3 hours.
You could spend 10 minutes waiting for the microwave to beep. Or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 Suzuki Jimny, 55-year-old Stefan now pays only 611 Rand a month. And for her 2024 Kia Sonet, 31-year-old Balisa pays just 926 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
The Green Eagles believe nothing will stop them from flying high with 3 points on Egyptian soil. However, the Glamour Boys want to wrap up the weekend with a special message for their fans. This is the Group D first leg contest of the CAF Confederation Cup. Catch Al Masri SC versus Kaizer Chiefs FC this Sunday, 23 November at 8 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
It's Black November at MTN. A whole month of great deals. Get a 100 gig MTN mobile internet Ruby plan, now just $319 per month for 12 months. And for just 20 Rand extra per month, add a 4G pocket router and connect up to 10 devices. Plus, get a free 10 gig startup bundle, redeemable on the MTN app. So don't miss out. Visit an MTN store or mtn.co.za now. T's and C's apply. Today, we make moves. MTN.
SAFM, in partnership with the Luthuli Museum, bring you the 19th annual Chief Albert Luthuli Memorial Lecture, which will be delivered by the Director General of the World Trade Organization, WTO, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, on Thursday, the 20th of November, 2025, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. The theme for this year's lecture will be reflecting on the work of the WTO, the World Trade Organization, and its global impact. The lecture will be live on the Luthuli Museum Facebook page and the Luthuli Museum and University of KwaZulu-Natal YouTube platforms. Tune in to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, coming to you from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, bringing you the lecture live on SAFM. The annual Luthuli Memorial Lecture is a partnership event between the Luthuli Museum, Luthuli Foundation, and the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture and the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
So someone here says, morning Thulasizwe and the whole SAFM listeners, based on Mokgotse's testimony, he is far from being an agent, maybe informant, yes. Remember, intelligence agency takes everyone serious, but Mokgotse, unfortunately, can't be intelligence agent based on my experience. He exposes himself too much, to say the least. For now, let's listen to him and take nothing serious in what he already said. At least finally he got his chance to explain his side of the story, says Anonymous. And then someone else says, so Mr. Brown Mokgotse gave us a lecture on espionage, but his testimony is quite weird. Let's hopefully we'll get more clarity and knowledge of the intelligence world. So I suppose as the testimony continues, that person hoping will get more clarity on some of what Brown Mokgotse has said. Brown Mokgotse is also on the mind of Mujalifa in the Northwest. Good morning to you, Mujalifa.
Hey, that is how are you?
Very well, how are you? Tell us.
Absolutely no way.
Tell us about Brown Mokgotse, your homeboy. Sure.
So
Mujalif, I'm sorry to do this. Mujalif, how are you holding your phone? Can I ask that you take it off speaker if it's on speaker and just hold it close to you? We're battling to hear you.
I don't know.
Still not great, but proceed. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. The contradiction yeah, they want to let down and the I
Yeah,
don't know what
yeah. Mujalifa, I'm sorry, man. We are battling with that line, but I think we got the gist of what Mujalifa was talking about there. Something that was said by Brown Mokhotsi during his testimony. Kirk in Cape Town, good morning.
Good morning to the season. Would not be surprised if the product of the first one that was floated around 2000. To go from an informant to a businessman to a fixer, whatever you want to term him. I wouldn't be surprised if he benefited from uh, undisclosed money was just been floating around. And it makes sense that he would come to the commission about the whole of it because he's not going to be held accountable for it.
Yeah.
So, another thing that we tested, but if it flies in the of sense and sensibility, just get away with it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that, Kirk. An important point that Kirk is making there about people that were recruited into the intelligence structures formally and informally. So, informants, information peddlers is the word that I've heard being used. In the world of journalism, I know that I've encountered a few people that operated in that space where the person makes claims to being part of some intelligence structure or something. But the more you question, the more you ask yourself, is this person really who they say they are? And they are quick to give you reports. So, in a way, you also take it with a pinch of salt to say, listen, this person will give me this information and this document. Then I'll have to do my own work to verify and just check, is there any basis for some of what I'm being told here? But yeah, especially in political reporting, you will encounter the likes of information peddlers and people who are just fascinated by the world of intelligence. Mbeko in Cape Town, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Thulasizwe.
Good morning.
I'm calling in as a concerned parent. My son is studying in Ceres in a primary school called Nduli Primary School. They were last in school the last week of October. Currently, the government want to build a new primary school in an area where people are speaking Xhosa, and then the medium of instruction is going to be Afrikaans. And the worst, my son is doing grade 7, is going to grade 8, not writing the exam.
Sure.
I'm a bit worried about my
So
son.
the protests have been ongoing since towards the end of October, you say?
Yes. The kids are staying at home. They are doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah. What is the name of the school?
Nduli Primary School.
Nduli. Yeah.
Yes.
And is anything being said by authorities, the Western Cape Provincial Department of Education, about how to resolve the situation? Because this is exactly the kind of situation that the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act seeks to address in some instances, the language policies and the extent to which they reflect the dynamics of the community.
According to the school principal, they haven't had anything from the department, Worcester district. Which is why they are just staying at home.
All right. Mbeko, thank you for alerting us to that. Who's protesting? Is it the teachers or the pupils or the community?
It's the teachers and the community.
All right. Mbeko, thank you for that. That's a story worth picking up on. Nduli Primary School in Ceres in the Western Cape. Definitely something for us to follow through there. And it seems from what Mbeko is telling us, it all has to do with language policy in that area. Let me go to Peggy in Bombela. Peggy, good morning.
A very good morning to you, to that. Now, when one is listening, and it's because because the way
self-esteem. It looks much, but over and above, say, with regard to whatever that is submitted,
Yeah.
it was done fairly, and it is not totally unfounded that one was dedicated to security and nation. According to my as I see it, when one has to so that you don't know your cup and you don't
Peggy? Oh, man.
and,
Sorry, Peggy. Yeah, we've got you now. We lost you there momentarily. You were talking about you don't blow your cover, and then what?
and you don't divulge information without the authority given by the information. And so you come to the prior that my permission center is to then the content of the contract that we have signed can be divulged. If not, if the statutory committee is a big record because running away from the when people like that is the most difficult sort of decision. But it's prior general financing who come up with something.
Yeah.
And this is totally wrong. I think my sure. I have seen the whole
Yeah.
he was
All right, Peggy, thank you for that. I must say that for me, without forming a view whether or not I believe everything he has said, my own expectation was that more needed to be said about declassifying some of what we were being told. The fact that he could say the name of his handler so openly without even there must have been a preamble, man. There should have been a preamble that says commissioners, in terms of the whatever act, Intelligence Services Act or whatever it's called, you will know that the next witness comes from the world of, and therefore we ask that these be the parameters. No parameters, nothing other than the co-handler's name, which is the only one that was protected. Everything else, we now know about creating a legend, as I said. We now know that part of what you do after you're recruited, you create a legend, a story that is almost your cover, so that it's believable, enabling you to operate and infiltrate. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Dwaisa in KwaZulu Natal. Good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Baba.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just buying my horse. They left me with for the other day.
Sure.
I called with regards to Sabina Patro's
Yes.
I don't like it, but we fully understand that
Sure.
there are so many calls. Not possible for everybody to control.
Absolutely.
Tolas, there's an ongoing narrative that the London Commission wasted a lot of billions, or close to billions. And interestingly, anyway, I argue that's not the case. But interestingly, I think early this year, Sisuketi Motatana, when she was responding to one of the listeners, said a very profound statement that actually it was not the case. There are results, already. One of them was the loss of power by the ANC. I agree with her 100%, and I found it very, very profound. That the ANC lost power because of the self allocations that were made of so much of the own institution. And it's to she was not sure what it was. That's what it just responded by that. So interested in the commission made job. She said the only problem was that the recommended recommendations by the Zondo Commission was handed over to NPA, of which the NPA was weak by the very same revelations time.
Yeah.
My question is that whilst it is in her position for almost the past 7 years to make sure that the NPA was strengthened,
Yeah.
to ensure that it does what the regulations were supposed to. Anyway, what was supposed to have been done in preparation. The quick answer is that she feels she did nothing much or she did nothing at all. And that is why, and even otherwise, if she did something, make sure that the NPA was strengthened. I'm sure we wouldn't have been where we are today.
All right.
And I'm sure the partners wouldn't have done what he was supposed to do.
All right.
So
Dwaisa.
that's my take.
No, thank you for that, Dwaisa. And you're rightly reflecting at the end of the tenure, towards the end of the tenure of the NDPP, Shamila Patoi. Her own reflection is that she spent a lot of time dealing with those weaknesses. And perhaps, I think, in a recent conversation I had with her, there was an acknowledgement that perhaps she underestimated the amount of work that needed to go into rebuilding the capacity of the NPA, particularly as it relates to fighting serious corruption and financial crimes, as well as issues of organized crime, and saying that, much of the time was taken by rebuilding the institution, and therefore that promise and undertaking of people in orange overalls did not really materialize as much as the expectations were at the start of her tenure.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Just getting a report of a crime scene, Pretoria North area, Ruckeldebia, towards Paul Kruger Street, towards Vanderboom Junction. Active crime scene. Traffic on a standstill. There are some diversions. If you're trying to get in and out of Pretoria North, that could be a little bit tricky for a while. Joburg crash scene on the 11th Avenue at 7th Street, just causing some delays as you come off the highway. The highway just queuing up to get off at 11th because 11th is so bad between the highway and Rosebank, if you like. So if you're just stuck on the Mike 1 highway and you can't see anything, the action is actually off the highway. N3 north from Germiston up through Galunis onto the N12 for a turnout towards the airport. Very heavy due to an earlier truck fire incident there this morning. We've also got some heavy traffic on Main Reef Road, Robertville area. Just a heads up if you're driving that side of Joburg, going to be sitting in some heavy traffic to and from Soweto this morning. Durban, 2 breakdowns going south, one before Umhlanga, so it's heavy from Subaya. Bit of alternative route action on the M4 there as well, avoiding that. And then a breakdown which has been with us all morning at Spaghetti Junction, so coming down from Mgeta Road, it's heavy. Breakdown going into Pietermaritzburg at Market Road, heavy from Ashburton. And this morning's big one, as far as the KZN traffic is concerned, is the truck crash going down towards Town Hill. It's just before Town Hill. The traffic backlog of trucks and vehicles is monumental. It's all the way back through Hilton and back towards Sadara. If you're coming out of Howick, get onto that old road. Otherwise, travel later would be the call. Cape Town, the M1 inbound stays heavy this morning from sort of Plattekloof Hill, N1 City Territory, all the way through to the city centre. N2 inbound from Robert Sobukwe Sloan. And there's a lot of traffic on the main road around the St James area between Muizenberg and Cork Bay. Pretty heavy both ways. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Mr. Govender, congrats on the retirement. You just sold your car to We Buy Cars. Tell us about it.
Yes, it just gathered dust in the garage, so I exchanged it for cold hard cash. Now my wife and I can enjoy a stress-free retirement.
Retiring the car as you retire. Nice. So why We Buy Cars?
It was so quick. They came over to our house to do the evaluation, and we sold it the same day. Tops, man.
Okay, so now you got even more time on your hands, eh?
Exactly.
We Buy Cars. Geared for your next chapter. Geared for you.
What's one more thing you can do for a child today? Could it be one clinic visit for their next vaccination?
Or say something that will really tickle my brain.
Maybe one healthy lunchbox snack to fuel their day.
Or say something that makes me feel good about myself.
Or one strong no to alcohol in your home.
Just one thing today could change our tomorrow. Visit holdmyhand.org.za.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
So before we go, we want to tell you about some work being done by what's known as the National Case Backlogs Committee, NCBC, and it comprises of the Justice Department, Police, Correctional Services, and the legal sector representatives. Basically, they are tasked with addressing severe backlogs of court cases that are resulting in overcrowding in correctional centers. For an example, as of the end of 2025, more than 60,000 detainees were awaiting trial or sentencing across the country's prisons. Let's speak to Khomotso Ramolobeng, who is the chairperson of Parliament's Correctional Services Committee. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. You recently received a report from this work that's being done, an update of some of the factors that are at play. In the main, what are the factors that are leading to overcrowding in prisons as they relate to awaiting trial prisoners and awaiting sentencing prisoners?
Good morning to the listeners at home, and good morning, Thulasizwe, and thank you for having me on the show. Look, yesterday we had a portfolio committee meeting where we had invited the Minister of Justice together with the Department of Correctional Services just to talk to matters that relate to correctional facilities and how overcrowded they are. And amongst those is that when we were doing oversight in almost all facilities that was being through oversight, Southern KZN, the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape, which was the last week, mostly overcrowding emanates from the detainees. And among those are those who are still awaiting trial, but who are incarcerated in correctional facilities or who are detained in correctional facilities without yet being exposed to trial. And I'll make a case in point. When we were in Tata correctional facility in October now, in the remand in the female sex, we went and talked. We were exposed to one female. I will not mention names or even the number.
Yeah.
We were exposed to one female who has been arrested 2018 or 2019, but based on sessions, including being verified or confirmed by the head of center, he has been remanded, being a remand detainee for 7 years.
Yeah.
And her matter is not yet being started in terms of engagement or being tried. He has been to court numerous times. Her matter has been postponed every time. And what is also worse or heartbreaking to her is that those who are co-accused her are outside the jail, but she is alone inside. So those whom allegedly they would have done the crime together
Yes.
are outside on bail and is still inside.
So
And
very
those
brief,
are some of the
yeah.
cases.
So very briefly, what are some of the solutions that are being proposed? My understanding is that they include some reforms to the entire bail system.
They do include reforms in terms of the entire bail system, amending the Correctional Service Act, together waiting for the bill to be agreed upon in cabinet, as per what the Minister of Justice would have made an indication on the Criminal Procedure Act as well to come in. But among those, we have legislation that are in place. The 63A, Section 63A that talks to head of centers. If the centers are overcrowded, they must then make a discretion together, make a submission to the magistrate to say we have this number of inmates who have done petty crimes or who can be put under correctional supervision to alleviate overcrowding. They are not being adhered to. We have Section 49G that talks those who are remand detainees for more than 2 years and are yet to be tried. We must make those applications back to the court to whether are they still having cases against those inmates. If not, then they need to be dropped. But if there is, then expedite a trial section.
Yeah.
So yesterday we were exposed when they gave a presentation, the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
Actual fact, when we were sitting with the case in point of that female remand detaining in cut of 7 years with those who have more than 10 years.
All right,
who
let's
are
leave it there.
still exposed to this matter.
Yeah, certainly an issue worth revisiting. One of those issues that I suppose will have to give more time and ventilation. Khomotso Ramolobeng is the chairperson of Parliament's Correctional Services Committee. That's it. Thank you for listening and thank you for your engagement. The Talking Point with Kete Mutlatlana is up next here on SAFM. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
In our top stories, Brown Mukhotsi's testimony to continue at the Madlanga Commission, and Trump defends Saudi Crown Prince over killing of a journalist. Good morning. The testimony of controversial Northwest businessman Brown Mukhotsi will continue at the Madlanga Commission this afternoon. Mukhotsi, who's been placed at the center of allegations before the Commission, made startling claims during his testimony yesterday. This included allegations that KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is a CIA agent, and Police Minister Senzo Mchunu allegedly contacted him about police operations in Stilfontein. Sibatle Mota reports.
Text messages between Vusmuzi Ket Matlala and Brown Mukhotsi, as well as messages between Mukhotsi and Senzo Mchunu, are expected to be the subject of today's cross-examination. Mukhotsi has denied sending a message to Matlala about the disbandment of the PKTT. He claims that the messages could have been fabricated. He also claims that messages between him and Mchunu were in relation to mining operations in Stilfontein. Proceedings are only scheduled to begin this afternoon. This will allow Mukhotsi and his legal counsel to go through documents in the Commission exhibit bundle, which they have not been able to work through.
Chief of Staff in the Police Ministry, Cedric Nkabinde, is back before the ADA committee today. The committee is probing allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the justice system. Nkabinde was sent packing last week after he admitted that he thumbsucked some of his testimony relating to Police Minister Senzo Mchunu and Brown Mukhotsi. Committee Chairperson Mulapi Likhanyane elaborates.
Mr. Cedric Nkabinde will come back. The proceedings are at the Good Hope Chambers. And then the head of procurement at the SAPS, Lieutenant General Pani, will be coming on Thursday. So there was also another proposal that General Musikidi must come on Friday.
The ANC-NEC has called on members of the executive to lead the charge in submitting themselves to lifestyle audits, starting with the president. This was one of the resolutions taken at last weekend's meeting of the party's top leadership. The call comes in the wake of efforts to renew the organization and government as a whole. ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula.
The president leading the executive